So I want to talk about, you're bringing up old school CRT TVs as well. So I got a funny story about that. I don't know if you guys remember back in the day when you had to like hire a team of like 4 people to deliver one of those to your house, because it was like set in this giant carved, like out of wood, giant just appliance that was about the weight of a refrigerator. Do you guys remember those days?
Of course.
Did your grandparents ever have TVs like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I broke one of those with my tiny toddler head when I was young.
Did you just like walk up to it and headbutt it?
I couldn't tell you what happened. Like I just know what has been told to me, and it's that I ran into one head first and I broke it, and it never turned on ever again, and that's why the front of my hairline is so like not perfectly straight.
Wait,
because of that incident.
For real?
Yeah, this is real. Yeah.
So did you like bust your head on you broke the glass, like the glass on it?
It didn't break, but it just turned off and never turned back on ever again.
So I'd like to explore young Jack Cepeda's mind for a minute. Did you happen?
I can't tell you anything about that day, dude.
Did that hit make you forget everything?
I don't know. I mean, I was so young, right? I don't think I could like. I
had probably
just started walking, probably.
An amnesia causing like concussion.
Yeah.
But you just forgot everything up to that point.
What's funny is I put two and two together when I eventually grew up and we were watching TV, and we had a smaller, cheaper, crappier TV on top of the old TV that I broke.
Oh my God.
It was just sitting on top. And so I didn't even consider the bottom thing a TV because we never turned it on. It was just the thing that the other TV
held the TV
sat on top of. Right.
The TV stand.
And also, guys, man, this is back in the day when the cable box. Oh, this is going to blow your guys' mind. The cable box, I'm going to try and describe this. This is like before the days of remote controls. Remote controls did not exist, at least not in my house. Mm-hmm. Maybe they did exist, but they're just behind the times. But to turn the channel, you had to get up, and next to the TV was this separate like beige box. And I'm trying to describe it to you, okay? Imagine there's like this line of numbers across the front, 1 to like 50, okay? And there's this one little switch with like an arrow pointing up, and it's underneath the numbers, okay? And every time you slide it, it goes click, 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 click.
Oh, God.
And that's how you had to turn the channels. So if you wanted to go from like 35 to channel 4, you had to go with the switch and move it, dude. Isn't that unbelievable?
That is insane. I can't even
Collin's
imagine.
face right now.
Grandpa, what's cable?
Seriously. Yeah, totally. What is cable? That thing that no one has anymore. And this is also back in the days, guys, listen to this. This is crazy too. Where HBO and having HBO on Cinemax was like a high class, pinky up in the air kind of thing back then. And HBO, like, man, if your friends had HBO, they were like rich to you, at least in my neighborhood. And they would send a little pamphlet. I don't know, like maybe like 6x6 pamphlet. Like every month they'd send it in the mail, and that's how you knew what was on when and on HBO. You got the schedule mailed to you in the mail.
So they mailed you a TV guide just for HBO.
Just for HBO. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, speaking of TV guide, do you guys remember the TV guide channel?
Barely.
Yeah, that channel would just it's just a giant grid. It's like a table.
It was just scrolling, and it would just tell you what's on each channel constantly, and then it would show like shitty little previews in the little corner screen.
And then cable came up with their own menus on screen, and it's like,
and then it was all
TV
over.
guide. Yeah, it's over for those guys.
And then Netflix happened
back in the day. Oof.
Or dude, I'll never forget. Okay, it's kind of out there reference, but either of you guys seen The Lost Boys, 80s vampire movie?
Oh, yeah. I think I own it on Blu-ray, as a matter of fact.
Dude, love that movie. Not kill. Dude, so good, though. So good. Oh, yeah.
Kiefer Sutherland at his finest.
Dude, right? So, anyway, I'll never forget the scene where they go to their grandfather's house, their grandpa's house, and move in with them. You know what I'm talking about, Jack? Where the guy's like, yeah. So you have a TV? You have a TV guy? And he's like, oh, yeah, I like the TV guy. I like to read what's on, but I don't actually have a TV. I just like to read about the TV shows.
Dude, yeah. And that movie also had a great appearance from the Coreys in it. If you remember that dynamic duo, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman.
The 80s power couple.
Yeah. Did we just jump from talking about TV guides to talking about Lost Boys just because of that one little connection?
Yeah, Colin. I mean, that's a weak thread, but I'm willing to go there.
It's a very big pull.
to trace it back, we had that VHS in that cabinet I was talking about.
Robert, help us out, please, with this show.
Welcome to the Tiny Disc Podcast, a show about games and life.
And tangents.
Yes, so many tangents. I'm Robert Scarpanito, and I'm joined here by Jack Cepeda.
Hey, everybody.
And Collin Sparling, the Lost Boy.
Hashtag bring Onimusha back. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, and that too. I'm the Lost Boy.
You are the one Lost Boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Did they still put people's faces on milk cartons? Is that a thing?
That's a good question. Do they still have milk cartons? I don't know if I see milk cartons anymore.
Huh. I've never seen, like, when it is a milk carton, it's usually like soy milk anymore, like silk.
Do you guys do regular milk still?
Yeah, I do.
You do regular milk, like from cows?
I do
like
whole milk. Yes.
Like in your cereal?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a milk purist, man. There's no other milk other than whole.
I don't know, something about milk has happened to me, and I've gone purely to almond milk now. I can't have regular milk anymore.
Milk's good stuff.
Are you
I like chocolate
lactose
almond milk.
intolerant?
I don't think so. I think I would know if I was. I mean,
Dude,
I have
honestly,
dairy all
like
the time.
almond milk compared to milk is way healthier.
When I do, but like if I want a milkshake or something like that, like obviously I want like whatever, regular milk is there. But I'm just saying with my cereal now, something about just regular milk, just, I don't know, it like the smell of it now, it's something bad happened to my olfactories.
What about other dairy products like yogurt, cheese?
I love it. Love it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just milk. I don't know. I think, I hate to gross people out, but I think I've just seen too many like tumors on like cows' udders and stuff. And I've seen too many of those PETA videos. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it messes with me.
Dude, you know what's funny is like, growing up, of course, like I drank a lot of milk growing up. My brother drank a lot of milk. My parents would always buy milk, always milk in the house, but never once did I ever see my parents actually consume milk.
It was all for the kids to help them grow strong.
I understand, but it's like, it's just really weird. Like as much milk as we buy, my parents never, ever drink it.
How do you know they didn't drink it? Maybe you just didn't see them.
Well, I know my dad is like not lactose intolerant, but kind of like he can't eat ice cream without himself like having to be on the fucking toilet like an hour afterwards. So
nice.
Nice.
Way to publicly shame your old man.
Nice. All right, so let's move on from this.
Oh, I thought he was gonna delve into that a little deeper.
No, I mean like that's
we just need to
all
end
there is
it there.
to say, bro.
For Mr. Sparling's sake, I think we should just end it there. So, did you guys see Spider-Man this weekend?
No attempt to segue at all.
Nope, no segue. We're just moving right on.
Dude, there isn't. Just
we're soldiering forward.
Yes. I believe we did see Spider-Man. Yes,
I saw it. I did. Mm-hmm. It was a movie during the summertime.
It was a Marvel movie. Yeah. No. Any more?
It was a Marvel movie.
Any more details about that?
Nope. Let's move on. Bye. And I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about milk some more.
Yeah. Let's talk about milk. No. So like my first, I think the coolest thing, like, or one of the coolest the starting points of like Spider-Man was like when they were rolling in before the movie even started. When they were rolling in, they were showing like the Marvel Studios sign, and they were very careful about showing like all of the Avengers and like all the clips from all of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe to basically emphasize that now the Spider-Man movie is a part of the Marvel Universe, and it's kind of in a way like a middle finger to Sony, like, ha, we got it back.
Okay,
you know
I totally had a different experience from that, at least. Well, because when the movie first started, I mean, you guys tell me if you saw the same thing or not. Like, it was a massive black screen and giant logo, Sony logo, for like, it felt like 60 seconds. It felt like forever.
Yeah, okay, so
and it was sitting there.
Let's clear this up. It's not necessarily that Marvel now owns Spider-Man again. Sony still owns the Spider-man license.
They like sign off rights or something.
Well, no, it's they're now cooperating. Yeah, they're cooperating with Marvel, so they know, like, because they know Marvel can do way more with Spider-Man, especially because they have this huge MCU now. That no matter how many reboots Sony does, it'll probably never do as well as a Marvel Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, and it's like that political red tape that has really kept Spider-Man away from the X-Men, the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy. He would have been integrated in this way sooner, had it not been for just this these legal issues kind of going on between studios. So back to kind of what I was saying, so they made a huge emphasis. I felt like this must have been like going back and forth between the lawyers, like how long is the logo going to show up, where is it going to show up, et cetera, et cetera. So Sony was huge on it, and then that kind of faded out or zoomed in, and then it showed Columbia, and then at the bottom of it again it said a Sony company. Like for some reason this really stood out to me how they were rolling this out here, because this is kind of a momentous movie where Spider-Man is finally, you know, officially joining. I guess he did it in Civil War, right, but this is really his own thing, you know. So this was a momentous occasion, this film. And then, you know, they had a little bit of the movie. They had kind of the prologue to the story and setting the stage for the atmosphere. And then that's kind of where the scene you were describing, Collin, comes in, where they really, really leaned in real hard on that Marvel logo and showing all the Avengers and everything like that. Is that what you guys saw too?
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that too, but I wasn't, when I was watching the beginning, I wasn't into the whole like Sony v Marvel like political clash. You know, for me, it was just like, it's nice finally that we're getting, like, this is a reality now. So for the sake of this part of the podcast, I don't think we should spoil the movie yet. So I guess we could just give like an overall thought. Like, would you recommend it to someone else to go see it?
Yes. I mean, yeah, I would recommend the movie for sure. Like, and I'm not someone who, I'm probably the least well versed in the Marvel cinematic universe than anyone in this podcast. And honestly, I more than anything, I'm just a big Spider-Man fan. Not really so much like superhero movie fan. I love Spider-Man. Grew up on Spider-Man, and of course, like I was like 5 years old when the first Tobey Maguire movie dropped, and I was all about it. Yeah. Like I went into the theater, I was wearing my Spider-Man t-shirt, had like Spider-Man hanging upside down on it. It was pretty dope. And so like I was super stoked to like finally see Marvel like get a grasp on Spider-Man and finally do what the hell they want with him, instead of, you know, Sony kind of running in circles and kind of spinning their tires as to what to do with him. You know, i.e. The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, like it's definitely one of the best superhero movies. Oh yeah, I would go as far as saying it was one of the best superhero movies I've seen. Definitely, like I think the last one I really, really, really liked was, I think Thor. I really like Thor.
Like the first one.
The first one. Yeah. I actually haven't seen the second one, believe it or not.
Good. From what I've
really?
Heard. From what I've heard.
Come on, no, I've seen it. It's not bad.
Not that bad.
It's not bad.
Okay.
No.
Well,
no. I mean, because honestly, I just like it because it's more fantastical than it is like superhero movie-ish.
Well, so
but anyway,
yeah. So Jack, what about you? Would you recommend it?
We should also say here at the top that at the end of this podcast, we are going to go full in and do a full Spider-Man Homecoming spoiler cast. So look forward to that. That'll be at the end of the podcast, obviously, so you won't have to worry about us dropping any spoilers here during the regular episode. So look for that. I will say this, and I can kind of, you know, state it very succinctly, in that I was not looking forward to this movie. I thought it looked dumb. I thought the casting was stupid. I felt so sick of being fooled into thinking that a Spider-Man movie could be good. And then, you know, with what ended up happening, it's the most rebooted superhero franchise that I can think of. And just, you know, it has the lowest hit rate, in my opinion. So I was down on this movie. But then after hearing from several people that it was really worth it, I still haven't even looked at the Metacritic score or the Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm sure they're pretty high. But I was not positive on it going into it. And I came out thinking this is a good superhero movie for the summertime. So I could definitely see myself recommending this movie to watch at least once, just to have a good time.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick? Mm-hmm. So it seemed like in the movie, I don't know if this is like a spoiler, but they did reference like Civil War quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, which makes like, sense.
Is it okay? Yeah, that makes sense. So this takes place after the events of Civil War, then?
Yeah.
So okay. So would it be worth it to go back and watch Civil War? Is it a decent enough movie?
I think I've seen it recently. I think it's a great movie.
Well, okay. Do you know what happens in Civil War? Are you aware of the Marvel Civil War?
I know it's like Iron Man v Captain America. Something happens, blah 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 blah. Okay. They fight and then they make up at the end.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard the film is good. I haven't seen it myself, but like, it's definitely worth watching if you don't know what happens or you don't get like the full gist of what's going on there. Because it definitely like if you don't know what happened, like you'll see Spider-Man Homecoming very differently. Like the stuff behind the scenes, you'll see it very differently than if you do know what's going on.
I think it's much more rewarding if you see Civil War first. If you have a choice and if you're going to watch Spider-Man and you haven't seen Civil War already, I would definitely recommend to watch it. I think it's on Netflix still anyways.
Civil War is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
do I need to see any other movies? Do I need to see like any other movies leading up to Civil War?
I mean, it's a whole like continuum.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, they're kind of rewarding the audience for watching all of them in some small way, somewhere all the way.
Well, I saw Avengers 1 and 2, sort of, I guess, but
like half asleep.
I'm very surprised that you're not into this Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. But you
I
had
don't know,
3
dude, like,
Dragon Ball Z VHSs. It just doesn't add up to me.
It just kind of fell off for me. Like I saw Thor when it came out. I saw Captain America, and man, what was the last? I mean, I
thought he said Cats in America.
Yeah,
I saw Cats in America.
You know that famous Marvel film from
the sequel
2012.
to the Aristocats.
Yeah,
Cats in America. Anyway,
okay.
Like what was the last one? Like I saw the Wolverine. I'm trying to remember the very. I mean, I saw Avengers Part 2. Yeah, I think it was the last one I saw.
So I think it's also worth pointing out that Wolverine isn't part. Like, I mean, Wolverine is in the Marvel universe, but the Wolverine movies, like Logan and stuff, they're not part of the MCU.
They have nothing to do with that. Yeah,
right.
Because that's all Fox, if I remember right.
But I didn't see like Ant-Man or like Iron Man 2 and 3 or any of that. Like I didn't see that.
You got a lot of catching up to do. I think there's a lot of good stuff there. I mean, obviously not everything is rock solid 10 out of 10, but I think overall, by and large, it's very entertaining, especially when compared to DC's movies. Green Lantern.
I think it's because I found them to kind of get repetitive. I think is the thing, because like Iron Man or like all that stuff, it kind of seemed like to follow the same formula, you know, and it had like the same quippy humor. And it's cool, but I don't know. I think at the time it just kind of lost its luster on me. That's why I kind of fell out of it.
I'm sure there are some people out there that could watch all these movies back to back. I couldn't do that. So I know what you mean. Like, yeah, certainly repetition, a certain rhythm definitely.
Yeah, so I think I was just tired out of them, if anything. So maybe I will go back and just try to watch them all if I can.
But back to focus on, just to focus on Spider-Man. If you watch Civil War first, you will be rewarded for that when you watch Spider-Man.
Right.
And you'll be you'll just get a little less out of the movie, you know, if you don't. It's still totally watchable. It's just you won't be like, oh,
yeah,
a couple times.
So I think let's save the rest of the Spider-Man talk for the way end of this podcast, because I feel like any talk we do now will just be beating around the bush, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So again, if you have seen the movie or just you don't care about spoilers, feel free to tune in at the end of the podcast if you want to hear more about our real succinct, real thoughts of Spider-Man Homecoming. But for now, I think we can talk about another kind of big, nerdy TV show, movie franchise that kind of dropped over the weekend. We can take a look at Netflix's take on Castlevania. Have you guys? Yes. Have you guys gotten a chance to look at that?
It totally.
Yes,
go ahead, Colin.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I liked enough to I finished it all in one sitting, so I found it quite intriguing. I was pretty hooked. Like the first episode, I was actually very surprised at like the quality of the voice acting. It was very nuanced. A lot of I don't know. I thought there was a lot of emotion there, and I think that was because they casted like a lot of like A-list actors and stuff to do the voice acting. So i.e. Richard Armitage. I don't know, like the animation was very well done. It was way more gory and violent than I thought it was going to be, which I'm definitely not gonna like, I'm all for that. Like it caught me off guard, but I was like, hell yeah, like gimme, like I'm all for that. And you definitely feel Dracula's wrath, and shit, all hell breaks loose quite literally. So I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, Jack, you didn't see the whole thing yet, right? From my understanding.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, it's essentially, and I kind of mean this as a sick burn, but it's essentially one movie that they kind of milked and split up into 4 different parts to call them episodes, to call this a series. But essentially, you're getting about an hour and a half to hour 45 minutes of content, right?
Yeah.
So I saw the first half hour of it, basically.
So the first episode.
Yeah.
I think they just kind of, I feel like they did that sort of thing just to kind of do like a test the waters type deal to see how it would be received. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to like fully commit to like doing an entire, I don't know what, like 13, 14 episode season or something like that. And
I mean, I could see, like, I see where you're coming from, but they also they announced season 2 the day they released season 1, like not even waiting for reviews to really come back or like see how well it does on Netflix, how many views it gets. So I don't think they're trying to test the waters, because if you're testing the waters, you don't already have season 2 like announced to people.
Yeah,
that's fair. I don't know. That was kind of what I was theorizing in my head, but you are right. So I'm not entirely sure what their ideology is going.
It's to milk it to call it a series. That's exactly what it is. I think just say, oh, this isn't the Castlevania movie, but it's good so far. It's way higher quality, I guess, than I was expecting, and I'm psyched now to see an anime / video game kind of crossover that is this successful on Netflix. This, I mean, if you guys can think of another one, like an original series based on a video game from Netflix, let me know. But as far as I know, this is the first, and it's kind of setting a very cool precedent for what could possibly be. This is setting the template for how to, translate video games into streaming services.
I think what makes this so good too is that it was written by Warren Ellis. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he's a very famous comic book.
Heard about him. Yeah,
very famous comic book writer. He wrote Transmetropolitan, if you guys have heard of that. So he actually sat down with Koji Igarashi, the man behind Castlevania, basically Dracula himself, if you take a look at a picture of him.
Iga.
Good old Iga. They actually sat down together, and I mean, Warren worked on most of the story, but he'd still, work with Iga and make sure, he'd make sure that it was still in the Castlevania lore. You know what I mean? It's not like he'll take a Belmont and be like, so what if he found a gun? And what if this was a shooter? He tried to make it in the Castlevania universe, and he double checked with the one best authority figure for what Castlevania is.
Hear me out, Iga. It's Castlevania, right? So it's Dracula, but it's World War II. Just hear me out. It'll make millions.
Yeah.
Dracula on the boats during D-Day at Normandy. It's fine.
Dracula in space.
I mean,
Dracula 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Guys, let us not forget there is there not a Zelda series in the works for Netflix as well?
Is that?
That was that was talked about last year.
It's been rumored forever, though. Yeah.
Well, I know the guy. I know the guy who directed for Castlevania. He's also now working on an Assassin's Creed anime for Netflix.
Nah.
I mean,
I'm okay.
That's happening.
I'm good. There's too much Assassin's Creed everywhere. Ugh. Hey, so can we talk about the first 5 minutes of Castlevania?
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Okay, so her name's Liz, right? The female kind of, you think she's gonna be the protagonist in the film, and she basically steps to Dracula, right? And it's just like, hey, I'm not a normal human. I'm not scared of you. Kind of giving him some sass, making him think twice, and then Dracula kind of takes a liking to her, and then he shows her all these cool tools and stuff to help people and help humanity and cure disease and have scientific breakthroughs and all this stuff. And so I'm sitting here thinking, what is this crap? The Castlevania, this is like a feel good, is this Buddy Dracula, the anime? What's going on here? I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect that to be such a feel good kind of, intro to it. I was like, wait a second. So where are they going with this? Okay. And then basically in a snap, they kind of, I guess I shouldn't say exactly what happens, but they yank that whole theme from you, and you're like, nope, it isn't that kind of show. This is actually going to be some of the most messed up Game of Thronesy kind of stuff that we could think of. So I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess I'd rather have it that way, but it was just very jarring to me, just unexpected. But it made the events even that much more tragic, and it kind of had you sympathizing for Dracula a little bit, at least me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree with that. They set him up to be not just, ooh, Dracula, can't wait till he's dead, and then, you win the game. It's more of a, you understand what kind of villain he is and where he's coming from. Which
you definitely get a feel for his motivation. Yeah,
right, and it makes a lot of sense. And I think the voice acting done for Dracula was very well done in that whole first episode. I think you could feel a lot of the emotion behind what Dracula would be feeling at that point, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. I think it was pretty solidly well done. But okay, so I've seen all of it like Collin did. I saw all of it in one sitting, like a movie. And I'm going to be honest, there were a lot of parts where I felt like I was soldiering on rather than enjoying the ride.
Like slow parts coming up?
The slow parts, but also just like I didn't care what was going to happen. I don't want to say too much, right? Because I don't want to spoil anything. I'm glad that it happened, and I think it's setting a good precedent, as Jack said, for like what Netflix can do to bring video games more to a mainstream audience and video game stories. I just hope that they step up their game for season 2. I really hope they step it up a lot.
What did you think, Collin?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, cause I wasn't really going like in with any sort of like expectations really. Like I just heard some trusted reviewers that I like say it was pretty damn good. So I was like, okay. So I went in, I was kind of like you, Jack, where I was like, is this kind of like the vibe they're going for? Because I was like, this doesn't really feel like Castlevania. And then they're like, nope, pull the rug out from under your feet. I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. And,
I see what you did there.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I mean, I kind of like the whole tone throughout, but I will say though, like I was very taken by the chemistry between Dracula and Lisa Tepesh. Is that her name? I keep forgetting it. Like the chemistry between their characters was like very mesmerizing. Even for, I mean, shit, it was a better love story than Twilight within like the first 4 minutes of Castlevania than they're throughout that entire series.
Nice.
But yeah, I thought that was really impressive. And like the part where they're like like burning her at the stake or whatever, and she's like, hey, don't hurt them and blah blah blah, that they don't know what they're doing. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is pretty rough. It's pretty dark stuff they're messing with here. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the first episode is like damn dark throughout the entire episode. It's pretty bleak, bro. It's like
it sets the stage. It gives you Dracula's origin story of like why are the Castlevania games the way they are.
Yeah,
it was a great prequel to the whole series, which goes all the way back to either the 80s or the early 90s. I mean, all the way back to NES days. Mm-hmm. One thing I will say is at the end of the first episode, you get introduced to a major character in the protagonist in the Castlevania video game series, and I thought it served as a great cliffhanger to the next episode. So I am looking forward very much to watching the rest of the series, especially based on that first episode and the cliffhanger and all around. It was a very good surprise. And it just made me think positively of like the possibilities of what could happen. Now that I hear that Assassin's Creed is being made next, I just think that's not for me at all. I'm not interested in that at all. I don't care what they do. But just to kind of think about it, I don't know if we want to talk about it yet, but later in the podcast, maybe we'll talk a little bit about Overwatch. But they recently came out with a anime kind of intro for a character, and I thought that turned out really well. So anime and video games, used to be kind of questionable, but I think people are stepping up their game. So
I can agree with that. I mean, I don't know, maybe like next week or something, Jack, if you watch the rest of Netflix Castlevania, maybe we can do a spoiler cast on that or something. Cool. And actually kind of get some good discussion on that.
I plan on watching it on the plane.
Oh, okay, very nice. So yeah, let's move on to a whole different thing. Instead of talking about TV shows about video games, let's talk about actual video games. So last week's Summer Games Done Quick ran for the whole week. For those of you who don't know, it's a giant marathon, a week-long marathon of people who speedrun games, and they're all volunteers. And they speedrun games and raise money for charity. This year they decided to donate to Doctors Without Borders, and they raised about $1.76 million. And this is just 7 days of people speedrunning all kinds of games.
And it's pretty much 24/7, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. They're speedrunning games like Mega Man, Dark Souls, Final Fantasy games, things of that nature. they even did a couple Legend of Zelda games too. I think they did a Majora's Mask one and a Breath of the Wild run. All kinds of games. Like there's at least one game that you're gonna really, really care about seeing.
And just a little 101 as well. When we say speed run a video game, what that term basically means is kind of how it sounds is they take, let's say, Super Mario Brothers, for instance, and they try and beat it in the absolute fastest humanly possible way. And I think the record for Super Mario Brothers is something like 4 minutes, 16 seconds, something ridiculous like that, from beginning to end. And then there also are sometimes some stipulations in the world of speed running where sometimes they'll allow glitches to be used because they'll kind of exploit the code of the game and really go into it to kind of trick the game into thinking that it's doing something it shouldn't be doing, and so that way they use that to their advantage to beat it faster. Sometimes there are no glitches, so it's just a straight playthrough like how anyone would play it, and then sometimes there's like a computer AI assisted run throughs as well where they program a computer to put in the inputs as fast as possible, and they have races that way too. So it's very interesting world, very deep world, and I just started getting into it recently in the last 2 or 3 years when they started doing these summer games done quick, and they do it, I want to say like twice a year.
Yeah.
I think they'll have these, and it's just a bunch of nerds from all over the world in a hotel room playing games for like a week straight. It's awesome, and they're doing it all in the name of charity, and these are like world class, like world record holding speedrunners that are doing this. It basically took over Twitch. It takes over Twitch whenever it's on, and it's just really fun. I just kind of boop in and boop out and just kind of see what's out there. I don't really pay attention to the schedule that much. For me, it's more just about the ephemeral nature of it. It's here and now it's gone.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch speedrun, you got to catch it. If you've ever seen, maybe you guys can talk about some of your favorite speedruns, but if you have ever seen anyone speedrun Super Mario 64, it is incredible. Oh, yeah. It makes you think you've never played that game before in your life because the game they're playing is a completely different game than what the public is playing. And the way Mario's moving, the way they use his acrobatics, all his mechanics is just mind-blowing. It really I can't really say anything. You just have to watch what people can do with that game.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I actually saw at Summer Games Done Quick this year. I caught a Super Mario 64 speed run, and the rule was to get all 120 stars. It was a speed run for that. And
I think I caught some of that too. Yeah,
hour and 40 minutes, hour 50 minutes for every single star in Mario 64.
Yeah. They do it the most efficient way possible. I mean, they've been plugging away at this game for 21 years now?
Yeah.
How old is that game?
Oof, it's old enough to drink.
Yeah. Seriously, it's so awesome. So yeah, talk about if you guys have any speed running memories or games that you'd like to see speed run.
So I think one of the craziest ones, one of the first notable ones that I remember seeing was I think some guy, he did a live stream and he speed ran Ocarina of Time.
Those are good.
But he 100%ed it in under 4 hours.
Jeez.
Wow.
I think is what it was. 100%ed it. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. He got every single item, did every single dungeon, did every single side quest. It's so how?
Yeah. Did he smack every single chicken in the face?
Yeah, exactly. But he ran sideways and backflipped everywhere
because it's faster.
It's faster.
And it's like a few.
It is faster
because it's like a few frames faster, and you'll get across the same distance in maybe half a second faster. So they'll just do that the whole game and extrapolate that and shave 15 minutes maybe off of their time by just walking sideways. It's insane what people have done with these games. It's so cool.
Yeah. Meanwhile, all the people watching are probably have the stream muted because all you hear is
the whole game
for
long.
fucking 4 hours.
It's cool too because these guys, they sit down on a couch and they do their thing and they don't stop. They don't get up. This is a race against the clock.
Yeah.
So they sit down with a blank game save and then just run 100% Ocarina of Time in 4 hours. It's so cool to watch.
How many times do you need to play through a damn game to get that?
Seriously, that has to be your game. That's all you have. That's your one game that you speed run, and that's what you do now.
To pull up a Jackism, it's hobby grade.
Yeah, Robert, don't credit that to me. I didn't make that term up. I mean, hobby grade has been around. I don't want that on my tombstone, man.
Jack Cepeda, hobby grade.
Oh gosh, he lived a hobby grade kind of life. Oh man, no, please no. That's what not to do.
Yeah. All right.
So like when you get a game like VGA graded, there's like the 80s, the 90s, like very high graded, but like when it's 100, it's hobby grade.
Oh, please
hobby
no.
grade collecting.
Nah.
Yeah.
So have you guys ever seen like one? Are you guys fans of Mega Man and Mega Man X?
I was just gonna say Mega Man X has some great speed runs too.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I have two in particular that happened this Summer Games Quick that I was like mesmerized by. So one they did a speed run, and it wasn't just a speed run, but it was a race speed run. So you had four people.
Those.
Right. You have four people playing it at once, and you see all of their gameplay on the screen at once. And it's all of them racing to get to the end, to beat all the bosses and to beat Sigma. I think they did that for they did it for both X2 and X3, I want to say, this year, if not more. I didn't tune into all of the Mega Man X stuff because they had a lot of Mega Man X stuff. So yeah, watching that race was really cool because I think it's like that epitome of like, it's not just wow, look how fast they do it, but it's like, look at how much effort they've put in to shave off as much time as they can and see how that compares to other people's efforts. You know, like it shows a real difference in how good people can get.
It's so cool. And another component of Summer Games Done Quick that is probably something we should mention is that the whole time this is happening as well, there are contests going on. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands of people watching at any given time. And there's also hundreds, if not thousands of people that are giving in donations to this year Doctors Without Borders. So you'll hear people kind of read comments of donators and how much the amounts are coming in. And I think it should be kind of celebrated as well that Notch, the developer of Minecraft, who used to run and was a CEO of Mojang and everything, he would call in a couple times during the whole week and he would donate $10,000 a clip. And I thought that was really cool of him to do. So, you'll hear about like giant, massive donations coming in. It's just really cool atmosphere. It just really kind of shows like the power of when the community comes together, like all the good they can do.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think.
Go ahead, Collin.
No, I was gonna say, I think the coolest speedrun experience that I've had by far though was like when I walked into Warp Zone, which is a local game store, and this dude walks in, and I think I've told you guys this story before, but this dude walks in and he's like, "Yo, man, you guys got a copy of Mega Man 2?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, of course." And he's like, "All right, I can beat it right now, 12 minutes.
Good for you,
no
man."
deaths." And Darren's like, "All right, I'm willing to test that." So he whips out a cartridge and he blows in the cartridge, tosses it in his console, throws it up on the big 70-inch TV, and hands him the controller. And I watched this dude play through all of Mega Man 2 without dying once.
That's insane.
No continues, no deaths. Beat it in under 12 minutes. I timed it.
I've never timed it before. I'm not trying to brag, but I can do that too. I've never timed it before, but I can beat that game in like one sitting.
Really?
Also, probably the closest I ever got to speed running, I wasn't doing this like on purpose. Like I was just trying to test myself. Really, this is before like I ever was conscious of a speed running thing. But Super Mario Brothers 3 from beginning to end, definitely using the warp whistles. By the way, like not trying to say I played the whole game through, but definitely just straight lining it A to B. I was down to, I want to say 15 minutes with Super Mario Brothers 3.
It's really cool.
So that was back when I was good at video games.
Mm-hmm. So I think probably my favorite speedrun though that I saw at Summer Games Done Quick this year was their speedrun of Mega Man X6.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because what they do, the speedrunners usually what they do in those marathons is not only are they playing the game, but they usually have them and some commentators or like friends of theirs also in the speedrun community, kind of talk about like what glitch they're using or like how they're exploiting this system. They usually kind of try to give you the theory behind how they're doing these things, just so you kind of understand what's happening on the screen. And I have memories of like being a kid and trying to play through all those Mega Man games, and it's like they're hard games. They're not easy. Platforming's very tight, and like it's easy to die and all that stuff.
Especially the first Mega Man is actually a bad game.
Yes. But no, with X6, because I played that game a lot, and I remember having a lot of trouble with some of the bosses, and just seeing this guy destroy bosses literally in a second.
Yeah.
For some bosses, like that's insane to me. Like apparently there's this glitch where one of the bosses gives you this power where you can put up a shield in front of you, And if you put that shield inside of a boss, like if you stand so that the shield frame is inside the frames of the boss, and then you use Zero's saber, every unique frame of the saber will count as a hit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's just like one swing melts a boss away. And I was like, in all the hours I pumped into X6, I've never run into that. And the fact that, these people have tested that over and over, like tested all kinds of things. Let's be honest. That probably isn't the only strategy that's out there. There are countless other strategies that have been used to like see which one's the best. And apparently at Summer Games on Quick, that's the fastest way to kill most bosses, which is it's insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the last couple years, they have just recently found new glitches in Super Mario World, which was released in 1991. People are still hammering at that game. They found ways of I can't even really go into it, but where you're in one of the early levels, and depending on what enemies you hit and what shells you pick up and where you put them down and where you throw them up in the air, you're actually changing the contents that are in the actual RAM in the cartridge itself.
What?
To glitch.
What?
Yeah. You're actually like augmenting the RAM of the code and everything, and it will glitch out to like the last level. Again, you have to like hit certain enemies, certain places, put shells down, throw things up in the air, make Yoshi jump, in this crazy order. And if you do it very specifically, you glitch the game and it like taking you all the way to the last level. It's insane. It's on YouTube. It's awesome.
Holy crap. What? That's insane.
Yeah, and again, this game is almost 30 years old, and they're just now finding this stuff still. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think just to wrap up this part of the thing, I think it's just really cool whenever people come together to do this. Because, even if you're not interested in speedrunning, right, like, this is just a very cool thing that happens in the game community, Like, not often can you say, because of video games, we helped raise almost $2 million for charity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, it's like the Jerry Lewis telethon for nerds.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly think it'd be fun and entertaining for people to watch, even that don't play video games.
Yeah.
I really do.
For sure.
I just think it's just a very unique event, and it happens twice a year. So I think the next one will be during winter, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think like speedrunning too. It gives like a really good purpose for speedrunning and stuff too. Because like before, I was like, yeah, speedrunning is like really cool, but like other than maybe like YouTube subscribers and stuff like that, like what do people gain from speedrunning other than like bragging rights? Like I don't know. I never thought of it as like a crazy thing that you could get like be lucrative off of or something, like make money off of.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but.
You say that, and then I'm thinking about there were some YouTube videos that I've watched where people will break world records and like just like break down, start crying, like in tears of joy because they've worked their whole life towards this. It's crazy. It's like an Olympic athlete. Like you don't make any money as an Olympic athlete, but you put your whole mind, body, and soul into one purpose. It's awesome to see it turn out.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, seeing people achieving those goals is always great, of course.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of achieving goals, Collin, you mentioned
hashtag goals,
hashtag squad goals. Collin, you told us that you have a little fun collecting story that you wanted to share, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Well, it's not too crazy of a story, but last week, when I was on vacation, I wasn't exactly sitting at home twiddling my thumbs. Okay, maybe a little bit, but so I took a little small self trip out to Indianapolis, Indiana. Beautiful city. Had myself, stayed in a fancy hotel, had myself a nice dinner. But of course, inevitably, while I was there, before I left, I had to find somewhere to buy games.
I understand. I understand the need.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, I was trying to scratch that itch, but at the same time, I didn't want to leave the city, so it's kind of slim pickings in terms of like game stores. So of course, I went to a GameStop. I know, kill me, right?
Classic.
But
classic.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing about GameStop though, is most GameStops are, they're on the way out with the 360 and the PS3 games. They're liquidating a lot of stuff, so you can find a lot of good stuff on clearance. So that's why I usually do check GameStops if they're around, so because sometimes you get lucky. So I went to what's it called? The Center Mall in downtown Indianapolis there, and it's like this big mall. Dude, it's like 3 or 4 floors, and like it's all. But the cool thing is, it's all in like the shape of like circles, or like it's like circular at one end, and then there's like a big long hallway that's full of stores, and then it's circular at another end. And so like I found the GameStop there and went in, and it wasn't a bad GameStop. They had an excessive amount of like pop vinyl figures just like a whole wall's worth of them. Just like a stupid amount of pop vinyl figures.
Yeah, GameStop is
I'm like
pushing those down. It's gaming merch.
Well, yeah, ever since they got a what is it they bought out? Was it Think Geek that they bought?
Maybe.
I think it was Think Geek. But ever since they bought that out, they basically become half a Hot Topic. I mean,
and like the shitty half too. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Fair.
Wait, there's a good half though.
I don't know.
I mean, I find some stuff in Hot Topic every once in a while.
But GameStop sucks. Okay, bottom line.
Yeah, GameStop, whatever. So, I was bargain bin shopping. They had a couple of good things. They had some stuff that I never usually see. They had they had Bayonetta. I found the Bayonetta 2, but for the Wii U, but it came with the Bayonetta 1.
That's hard to find, dude.
Yeah, with Bayonetta 1, and it was used. And I got really excited because so there was 2 copies of it, right? And I looked at the first one and it said $20 on it. And I was like, what? This thing is going for like over $50 fucking on eBay right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, wait. So there's another copy next to it. And I pulled it out and it was the one with the actual like other disc in it. And it said $50. I was like, damn it.
Sure.
Yeah. And then,
you know what? I was going to play a game there where Robert and I guessed how much that was. I was going to say 45, but we didn't get there.
Yeah, it's 50. Sorry, bud.
That's okay.
Anyway, so like I went through the bargain bins and I found what was the thing? I bought Tales of Grace's F.
Ooh,
is what I got.
Oh,
yeah, Tales of Grace's F for the PS3, and they had it there for $20, and that game usually goes for I've seen it go from $25 to like $30 in other stores. I was like, $20, all right, I'll snag it. And then there, of course, I also hit up Hot Topic. Got myself some gaming merch. Got a new PlayStation hat and all that.
Classy.
Yeah. And then when I got back home from Indianapolis, my hometown has a Family Video, which is a rental store. I don't know if we even have that around here.
I've seen them around. Yeah, there's some in Columbus.
Yeah, is there some in Texas?
I haven't seen a Family Video here. No, I barely see a Redbox here.
Okay, so like I guess because I was actually talking to the lady there, and I was like, so Family Video, like, how is this still a thing with like Netflix and all that? And she's like, well, like we're the only like brick and mortar like movie and game rental store left in the nation. I was like, are you serious?
Wow.
I'm like, oh my god,
what's their secret?
crazy.
How do they do it?
I don't know. Like I don't know like what it is. They don't do anything that's really that special. Like nothing that blows my mind.
Well, so to be fair, the fact that it still exists kind of blows my mind.
That's true. I guess it makes it kind of a novelty.
Yeah.
It's like right next to like every little Caesars in the country.
Like maybe
that's true.
Maybe we'll see a hipster resurgence where like I don't pay for Netflix. I rent my movies because it's cool.
VHS.
I mean, Blu-rays look a lot better than streaming movies.
Fair. I mean, consider instead of vinyls, it's rentals.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
That's the new hip thing.
It's the new
it's
craze.
all just a matter of time, gentlemen. Just a matter of time.
We're
just
ahead of the curve.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I don't mind renting movies. It's not a bad thing, especially since I live right down the road from it. It's no big deal to return the movies after you're done with them. Mm-hmm. But so I passed by there and I was actually like driving back to my house from Indianapolis, and they had up in the big billboard this it said, "Buy one get one half off for all games." I'm like, are you serious? So I went back home and hung out for a while. Then I was like, all right, it's eating at me too much. So I ended up going down there. I was like, I'll just see what they got. It's fine. Probably won't pick up too much. Walk out with like 4 games.
What'd you get?
So I walked in there. I just went through their PS3 section mainly. I got Blur, Split Second, Yakuza Dead Souls, and Armored Core 4.
Okay.
And so each of them were marked for $10. So that means I got one for 10, one for 5, one for 10, one for 5. Mm-hmm. So the most notable one was Blur, because Blur goes for $20, $20+, which Blur is a really cool game because it's actually basically like a grown-up version of Mario Kart.
Yeah, it's made by Bizarre Creations, the developer that made Project Gotham Racing, and then also made
oh really?
Yeah, and then also made what was the launch game, Xbox 360? Project Gotham Racing. Yeah, that's what it was. Duh.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made that, and then they went out and made Blur, and like you said, it's like a kind of futuristic adult Mario Kart because there's like weapons and power ups and stuff with like a Chevy Camaro. It's really weird.
I heard it's a hell of a fun game, and that's the thing. Like I've been kind of getting a little. Yeah, and like I've been getting more into like, and I think that's why, cause it's a little bit pricier, because it's kind of like not really high in demand, but it's kind of collectible. Like a lot of people like to pick that one up.
Yeah, in my
so it's staying pretty steady at $20.
Yeah, in my physical media days, I had it in my collection too. It's a cool game.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to play it yet, but it seems pretty cool. And I also got Split Second, which is like this action racing game that's actually developed by Disney Interactive, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But it's so like the whole focal point of it is like you're driving, super fast cars through like action set pieces that you would see in movies. Like I'm talking like Fast and the Furious style, like, oh God, this plane is crashing towards me. Better, hurry up and speed up underneath of it. And then you look in your rear view and it's just like blowing up everywhere.
And then the next lap you have to like drive through the airplane, things like that. Like there's dynamic track evolution. And I remember one feature of Split Second as well was they kind of took cliff notes from Dead Space, believe it or not, where with the UI. Remember how in Dead Space you could see everything was communicated to you by watching the dude's suit and like his life. So that's kind of like this with the cars, like the speed and like what gear you're in and where the turns are. Like all the UI stuff was like on the car itself, if I remember correctly. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was almost like a augmented reality in game. It was kind of cool.
It's kind of like they were trying to recreate again like that Hollywood chase scene. Like every scene in Fast and Furious kind of was a race. So that's another cool racing game too. A little niche game.
For sure, yeah, and I mean for the price, I couldn't beat it. And I mean that's the thing when it comes to racing games for me, I don't really like the whole like simulator thing. I like the more arcadey stuff where it's like, okay, this is the thing, but there's a twist, I don't like to it has the most realistic handling. Okay, like now I'm just driving off the side of the road every race.
Yeah, you don't want to like adjust your camber angles and your gearbox ratios, things like that, right?
Yeah, it's like this is ridiculous. I don't want to spend an hour adjusting my fucking suspension.
Yeah. See, I can appreciate that too. I can appreciate the tinkerer's mode. It's cool when you actually,
for sure.
When you actually know like how, like in real world scenarios, why you would change that kind of stuff, and then you try and recreate it in a game and it actually works out, and you actually win a race because of it. That's pretty rewarding. So, but I love those.
It is pretty neat.
Yeah, I love those arcade racers too. I can go either way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. And of course Yakuza Dead Souls. I'm getting into Yakuza a lot, so it's like Yakuza but like with zombies, and just basically it's like a spin-off. You just kill a lot of zombies. Armored Core 4 is just like, I've never actually played an Armored Core game, so I don't know. You guys probably know more than I do, but like it's a mech game by From Software. All I know is I want From Software games because it's From Software. So
let me tell you, there's only one mech game from Software that I'm even going to pretend to be interested in, and that's Steel Battalion. The $200 game on original Xbox with the controller,
with the big-ass controller,
with the giant 3-piece controller with like 86 buttons on it. The game had a glass, or in my case, a plastic shielding on the ejector button. And if you died in the game, like if you got defeated, you had to flip open the glass and hit the eject button to escape. And if you didn't hit that button and you just died, it deleted your save.
Why do I not own this game?
They gave zero fucks, guys, about your save.
Man,
if you lost
that's edgier than Dark Souls.
Like,
yeah,
that game is like, it's insanely collectible now too. That whole set,
dude,
the
I had one.
Man,
it's one of my greatest regrets. But I had one that was in pristine condition. And I sold it.
I so want one.
I sold it. I wish I had it still. It kind of be a burden to own just because the thing's so massive. I mean, it's like 3.5 feet across your lap.
I have no space for it here right now, but I still fucking want one.
You need to buy a separate table to play that game. I'm dead serious. You have to buy like a fold-up card table just to play it.
No, dude. You got to go full on with it. You got to build like a fucking replica cockpit.
Full battle station.
Dude, people have done it. And also, I play the game online. And guys, this is in the early days of Xbox Live. So imagine back in like the early 2002, 2003. Okay, you had to spend, what was the like going price for playing this game? You had to own the Xbox, you had to have a TV, you had to have internet, which was super mad expensive back then for not very fast speeds. You had to have this $200 game, and then you had to buy the $60 online game, which was called Line of Contact. I want to say Steel Battalion Line of Contact. And so I'm playing this game online. I'm one of the stupid people that did this, that spent about $600, $700 just to play one game, right? And there's literally 200 people in the community all over the world.
Oh my God.
That's how big the player base was.
Wow.
So I was ranked
that player base is dedicated.
Yeah, I was ranked like 40th.
Nice.
Out of 200 people.
You must be very skilled.
People. Dude, I'm one of the craziest 200 people in the world.
I would just want to know what experiencing this game is like.
It was so good online. It was so good because you literally had to like turn the dial to the channel to talk to different people on your team. Like there was a radio tuner on this
so
thing.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a radio tuner, and you couldn't talk to everybody. You had to talk to each other individually and tune into their channel, and they had to be tuned into your channel to hear you.
That's insane.
And there was a windshield wiper button. If you fell down, dirt got onto your screen, and you had to get up and hit the windshield wiper.
So was it a first person?
Yeah. Oh man, are we really talking about Steel Battalion? I love this game. Okay,
dude.
So listen, there was also like a feature called clip dumping, which was kind of considered an exploit, but it's basically where if you jam on the reload button while you're firing, it would unload your whole clip into somebody and just kill them instantly. And it was kind of frowned upon as like unsporting, right, to like kill somebody that way. But what else? There was also, guys, there were gears in this game. Like you had to like shift gears from first to second. There was like 3 pedals on the ground too. I remember that there were some tricks. I don't know how I found this out, but if you had like 20 different mechs or 15 different mechs, something like that. And if certain mechs, if you started them in second gear, you would like have an advantage over people that started in first gear. Guys, I don't know how I know this stuff. It's just it's such a crazy game. So anyways, that's the only software mech game I'm interested in talking about.
So
dude, it sounds like you're describing to me like how to drive Howl's Moving Castle right now.
like what I'm gathering here is that Jack, you didn't just get into the top 40 by happenstance. You sat down and dedicated yourself.
I did. I played this game every single day, every single night. I was dedicated to it because you spend $200 on a controller, or $150 on a controller, $50 on a game. It's like I'm gonna get my money's worth out of this, and I definitely did. But yeah, it's one of my greatest regrets is selling that thing. But then I think back, like, what would I have done? This thing would have owned me. I wouldn't have owned it. If I had kept it all these years, I'd have to move it across country. Like, but the box I had a complete inbox in like pristine condition. And I want to say I maybe sold it for like $80 maybe.
Oof.
Oh, I know.
Damn.
I know, dude. I know. That's why I can't get into physical media anymore because it's just so heartbreaking when it goes away.
Dude, I would have bought so much stuff off of you if I knew you when you were still selling. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to another topic here. So I remember last week when it was just me and Jack running the 2-man Tiny Disc show. That's a sentence I never want to say again.
You guys,
2 tiny 2 discs.
They missed me so much, you guys.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit about that Doomfist teaser that came out. And funnily, like, I remember we said something like, we think he'll come out on the PTR next week. And lo and behold, the day we published the podcast, they dropped Doomfist on the PTR, I'm pretty sure.
Not 12 hours after we publish. Yeah. So very timely.
Very, very timely. So Doomfist, he's out. He's out on the PTR, the public test region. So if you're playing it on consoles, you won't be able to play him yet. He's not like officially out, but he's out on like that testing server that you can play on to, like, Blizzard mainly uses it for bugs, see, and like some balancing stuff. So Collin, you don't really play much Overwatch, right?
No, I think the only time I've ever played Overwatch, I played it when it was on beta for PS4.
Gotcha.
On the beta.
So Jack, did you get a chance to play as Doomfist?
I finally downloaded the PTR just for that day. I mean, it's free. I mean, why not play him? He's going to play very closely to how he plays in the regular game, so I wanted to check him out. I couldn't resist. This is the big bad now in the Overwatch universe, and for the lore, people kind of had the misconception that Reaper is the big bad guy, but no, the actual M. Bison of Overwatch's Shadowloo is none other than Doomfist, who we kind of discussed last week, like you said. So I definitely have thoughts and opinions on how he plays. He's very unique. He's a melee-based character. He has a miniature kind of shockwave jump move that he does that reminds me of Reinhardt's ultimate. And then he has a charge punch, dude, which when you hold the right mouse button and charge that up, it's almost like a sniper punch.
Yeah,
in a weird way, because you cannot dodge it. I can't. Every time it happens to me, I'm like, I'm just dead. I'm dead now.
So here's the thing too, is a fully charged rocket punch can kill anyone under 200 HP, I'm pretty sure, as long as they hit a wall afterwards. So like, I guess because last week we talked all about his lore, so this week we can probably just kind of talk about how he plays and how it feels to play him, right? So I think Doomfist is very position based for sure. He's like, it's all about knowing where you are in relation to the enemy and how you can exploit that to the best of your ability. Because his main damage dealer is definitely rocket punch, right?
Oh my gosh, I died to so many of those.
So
yeah,
Can I ask you guys real
up?
quick? So I remember in the episode last week, you guys mentioned it, so he's a melee character, and he's the first melee character, right?
First, like official.
Where he.
So Reinhardt's the first melee only character, right?
Okay.
And I remember saying that I really wanted another melee only character. I was kind of thinking that Doomfist would be a tank.
That's what it was, yeah, because he wasn't out yet.
Right.
That's right. So you guys were speculating.
Yeah. So he's definitely a melee. Well, mostly melee only. His primary fire, he shoots out like shotgun shells.
Shotgun knuckles? Like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, he does,
it's
on
weird.
his four
It's
knuckles, four knuckles on his left hand, they each are like loaded with a shell, and he just shoots them out. And they reload on their own over time. They just kind of like regenerate. So you never have to press the reload button when you're playing as Doomfist, which is kind of cool.
Reload.
Yeah. So all of his cooldowns are like pretty low. You know, I think the longest cooldown he has is 6 seconds or maybe 7 seconds. So, you know, he's all about having your abilities. You know, you never want to have a moment where you are in a battle and all your abilities are gone, because then you're just dead. You're absolutely dead.
And I definitely get the feeling that all of his abilities have been built with chaining them in quick succession in mind. Like, you can put together some really nasty combos, and you can get to some very interesting locations when you know exactly how to chain his moves. So he has the rocket punch, he has a spiral uppercut, basically a Shoryuken.
Yeah.
He has that jump shockwave.
It's kind of a Winston leap, but less verticality.
Yeah, and then he has the shotgun knuckles, which are dumb. But so he's a very interesting character, and definitely is getting played a lot in PTR. I'm going to be very interested. I definitely think he's going to be affecting the meta when it comes out. I'm kind of sad because he really wrecks a lot of the characters I play. And I'm just like, oh no, what am I going to do? Because you cannot get close to that guy. He will wreck you like beyond belief. He's going to be very hard to hit. So I'm excited, but I'm not looking forward to going up against a Doomfist as Symmetra main.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny too is that right now the dive comp is like pretty, like it's getting a lot of attention, and Doomfist is only going to exacerbate that, you know, because he's very divey. Like, he's an all-in hero.
Yeah, and he also regenerates his passive ability. He regenerates what is it, like 20% or something, or he gets a 20% shield or something like that for damage done. So also I want to point out as well, we're talking about his abilities, he probably has one of the coolest ultimates in the whole game.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. We can get to that in a sec. Collin, you had a question?
Oh yeah, when you say dive comp, what does that mean?
Okay, so dive comp is like,
okay, hold on, guys. This is Overwatch talk now, so you can feel free to turn the podcast off. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll give you a quick 20-second, or not even that. So instead of like standing at a point and like holding it forever, or you know, like standing at a point and shooting at them and killing them from afar, instead you use heroes that can jump in real quick and get behind them or like on top of them as fast as possible and disorient them and then kill them, you know, while they're confused. That's a dive comp.
Bunch of mobile, high damage output characters.
Right. And since Doomfist is very, very mobile, very high damage output, he is kind of the epitome of dive comp right now.
I see.
So he gets tanky with his passive, which is interesting because I've never seen a DPS have 400 total effective HP.
Yeah, that's crazy. He's almost like a pseudo tank.
Yeah. And then his ult, like Jack was mentioning, he just jumps up into the air and he yells, "Meteor strike."
And then you have like 5 seconds or so to select a location where it's like I want to say like 14 meters across a big circle where everything in it just basically dies.
Yeah, there are two circles. There's like a smaller inner circle that I'm pretty sure does 300 damage, so it one-shots anyone that doesn't have more health than like Bastion. And then the outer circle does about like half that damage, I think. So it's kind of hard to hit people, I think, with a smaller circle. Because when you see it coming, it's pretty easy to move out of the way. Maybe if you're like a Zenyatta or something, you know, very low mobility character, you're going to get caught in it real quick and real easily. But if you have an escape move or like are just constantly on the move, you'll probably outrun his ult and not be hurt too much. So I feel like his ult may be like a tiny bit underwhelming at some point. You know, like once people get used to how Doomfist plays and playing against Doomfist, I think his ult's going to be more of a mobility tool than it will be like a damage. It could be a good engage tool though, for sure.
What did you call me?
A tool, Collin. A tool. Yeah. No, I really want to learn to play Doomfist better, though, honestly. I find it really funny that he's coming right off the heels of Lawbreakers beta, right? Because Lawbreakers is all about, like, high mobility, high movement, high skill ceiling. And I feel like Overwatch releasing Doomfist, like, right after the beta is like, that's cool and all, but we also have a hero like that who's high mobility, high skill ceiling.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to talk, aside from his abilities and just how he plays, I kind of want to just talk about the character overall a little bit, if we could.
Yeah.
So, controversial statements coming up here. I'm kind of worried about Overwatch a little bit in regards to the character design, because the newer enemies or the newer characters coming out, heroes that have been since launch, I feel like have been, just in my own personal opinion, have been getting like worse and worse and worse. Like everyone is a kind of a step down, like from a design point. And I'm a little bit worried. Like, I'm not really in love with the way that Doomfist looks at all, or his character overall. And I remember not really liking Orisa that much either. And then I also remember not really liking Sombra that much either. I'm like, and then Ana too. Like, all four of these new characters, I don't like their character design. Sombra is probably the one I think fits in the best, but I just think the other ones are too weird. I don't know what it is. I can't get behind it. It's reminding me of when Street Fighter. I think there are a lot of parallels to be made between the Avengers, Street Fighter, and Overwatch, because it's just the group of world heroes that save the day and the group of supervillains. Anyways, I remember when Street Fighter came out with Third Impact, or they just had really weird character designs for a while there. And this kind of reminds me of that. It's just like really out there. I don't think the spikes, like the tusks or whatever, the spikes like on his shoulder, like look cool. I don't think it looks cool. I think it looks corny. And so I'm just like, okay, he plays well. But I just don't know if I'm in love with the character design, which is sad, because for me, usually Blizzard does no wrong in regards to character design. And I just feel like they're kind of on a slump here with Overwatch, which is their biggest game of the day right now.
I don't know. I'd kind of have to disagree, because I think Sombra is definitely the coolest looking character of the four that have been released post-launch.
She has a cool gun too.
She has a cool gun. She has I think her design overall is very cool, because like, one thing about Overwatch's character design is when you look at a character, you kind of get an idea of who they are, what they do. And I think Sombra really personifies that well. You look at her and you can tell, like, oh, she's weird. She's weird and she likes being weird. And that's kind of exactly what Sombra is. Like, she's very mysterious, has her own personality, and you can't quite tell her motivation sometimes, that kind of stuff. And I'd argue Ana, too, is kind of like that, because, she's like the grizzled veteran. She's the granny. She's the mom of everyone.
She's literally a granny.
Yeah. And, you look at her, like, just one look at her and you can tell, like, oh, she's seen some shit. One of her eyes has seen a lot of shit.
Jeez.
Yeah.
No, I know. I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying, just from a cool factor, I'm just like, I don't think they're that cool. I don't think they raise the bar or live up to the bar. I think there's some very cool character design in Overwatch. And I just don't think with the latest characters coming out, it's really kind of held the standard. And I just think Doomfist kind of looks dumb. Hate to say it. I just think it looks a little dumb.
I can see where you're coming from. Well,
the knuckle shotgun is kind of just lame.
I don't know. I think it kind of looks neat. I think it's from a gameplay standpoint, it's a clever way to make sure Doomfist is never not doing anything. When all your skills are on cooldown, you're at least able to do something, right?
It's definitely meant to be spammed, yeah.
Yeah. And
so what you're saying is, at Blizzard, they're just kind of on the cutting room floor, and just like, okay, guys, so new character, call him Doomfist. So what we got? Okay, so like, what if we took Jax from Mortal Kombat and just gave him one mechanical arm?
Oh, hell no. That's hilarious.
So when they took Winston, they're like, okay, so what if there was a gorilla and his gun was basically Raiden from Mortal Kombat?
Oh man. Yeah. Oh no, you bring up a good point. That's hilarious, dude. But it just seems to me uninspired a bit. It's just a little uninspired. I feel like different people have designed the original cast characters, and they maybe have since moved on and gotten different jobs. And I just feel like a different team is designing these characters overall. So maybe it just makes me worried in what's to come, because obviously I feel like this is a game they're going to be constantly adding characters characters to probably forever. Who knows if they'd ever make an Overwatch 2? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can see where you're coming from with Doomfist, because really all his character design is the fist.
Jax, dude, that's hilarious.
He's Jax with one. He only lost one arm.
Good pull.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of a majority of where his character design is that fist, that gauntlet, and I guess like kind of the lead up to the shoulder as well. Like that's kind of it. I don't know if you've looked at his character model enough, but like you do notice that the thing connecting to his shoulder like kind of runs all the way up to the back of his head. So it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like in a character standpoint, like maybe his fist is connected more to his brain than we think it is, or something like that. But that's about it in terms of being able to look at Doomfist and seeing what kind of character he is. Because I'll be honest, like I know his place in the lore. He's the big bad, right? But I don't get a sense of who he is. I just know he has a big fist and he likes hitting people with it. You know what I mean? That's kind of.
He's the leader of Talon.
And he punches Stiff to death.
Yeah.
But you know what they say about guys with big fists?
That being said, though, dude, I actually, I will totally like concede he is fun to play. He's definitely 100%. Fun to play, fun to learn. I'm just talking about the aesthetics of it, in a game where heroes are so much of part of the experience. Like everything about the character is a big part of this game. So that's where I just think it falls short a little bit. But don't get me wrong, like the way he plays is very fun. I think it's gonna be a very interesting addition to the game. So I'm looking forward to playing him a little bit more.
I mean, part of it too, though, they did build his personality up a little bit, where they released that little anime short, that like 2-minute anime short of like who is Doomfist.
Right.
And I mean, like I feel like we don't really like spoil a 2-minute preview, but like he essentially punches his way out of prison. Like over the course of however long he's in there, he's just punching a wall constantly and monologuing. You think that
would like raise some red flags?
Nah.
By the security guards. No, like just let him hit that wall.
It's fine. It's Doomfist. What's he gonna do? Break it with his fist?
I know, right? Yeah. It's like
it's like he's like the exact opposite of like Andy Dufresne from like Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of the little hammers with a giant fist.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah,
and he's monologuing.
It's like, dude, you can't cover that up with a poster. What do you think?
He keeps monologuing too about like determination and like striving to
Doomfist
always be the best.
Was a tall drink of water.
How often do you actually pay attention to a man's shoes?
I think though I'd like to see more of Doomfist in the actual meta. I'd like to see how he actually plays, because right now playing him on the PTR, it's fun and all, but I don't get a good sense of how he's going to actually play in real games. Because you're either playing against a team that's also just a bunch of Doomfists, or like is playing around Doomfist, rather than playing a normal game where only one person gets to be Doomfist and the whole team has to work around that. So I'd like to see how that eventually pans out when Doomfist actually goes for real live on the real game.
I'm pretty sure they're going to be making some changes and some tweaks to him. And I'd be interested to see what they do.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so let's move on to our next topic here. Jack, I believe you brought this up to us when you wanted to talk about it.
People have been saying in podcasts I listen to that it's a slow news week, but we got a lot of crap to talk about this week.
Oh, yeah. Oof. Yeah. So, do you want to hit this one, Jack, since you're the one that kind of brought it up to us?
And we don't have to talk about it very long, but guys, just know this. Like, the Oculus Rift price has been cut for the second time just this year. Now the Oculus Rift VR virtual headset, the headphones, the Oculus Touch add-on, which was $200 standalone by itself, all of that. I sound like a JVC like news, like infomercial guy, but
if you call now,
no, you get more. Yeah, no, I'm not trying to sell this to you, but I'm just telling you, they reduced the price of something that was once approaching $800, $900. Now it's all for $400, and I think that's cool if you want VR and if the price has been prohibitive to you. But I also am worried about that. Like, that's raising a lot of flags and raising a lot of questions about the hardware's costs, about the current sales, about the future of VR overall. So I just think that it's worth talking about a little bit from a industry perspective. Like, is VR really in trouble? I mean, they're definitely not profitable, and games that are made on VR are not profitable right now either. I think that Gabe Newell came out publicly stated Gabe Newell came out publicly stated.
Gabe Newman.
Nubin.
Praise Nubin.
Gaben. I was like mixing them both up in my head. Anyways, that guy what made Valve, he has come out and said that very few, I want to say 5-10% of VR games have hit even. Really. So you're more likely to lose money making VR games right now because these headsets are so expensive and because they're not reaching the critical mass and because such a high percentage, an incredibly high percentage of VR headsets are, quote unquote, are the kind of cellular phone variety. And those are not the same experiences. And Oculus Rift is way, way behind the whole pack. And that's why they're aggressively slashing the prices. I mean, I was a fan. I am a fan of VR. I am a fan of the Oculus Rift. It wasn't going to be my first choice. I was going to get the HTC Vive, but now at this point, I'm already waiting for the second generation of headsets to come out. Now is not the time to buy into VR because the new headsets are one of two things is going to happen. Like either the new headsets are going to come out, they're going to be way cheaper and way more effective and awesome, and then maybe they'll start moving the needle. Or the other thing is maybe these companies might just like throw in the towel and be like, you know what, we tried really hard, this didn't work, the technology's there, but we can't get the price down to reach critical mass, and the market has spoken, and we're not going to do this right now. So one of those two things is going to happen, but the Oculus Rift being just so aggressively priced now it's cool, like I said, but man, it's really raising some flags. When this came out, just the headset alone last summer, I remember trying it out at Best Buy over there by the Tuttle Crossing Mall. But I remember when it first came out, just the headset and an Xbox 360 controller, was $600.
Jesus.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. And now the fact that they're adding on another $200 bundle with the Oculus Touch controllers that are special VR centric controllers, the whole thing together now, which again used to be $800-900, is now $400. It's really crazy. This is the craziest price cut since Nintendo slashed the price of the 3DS in half back in the day.
Mm-hmm. But so I've been on record on both this podcast and previous podcasts. Well, actually, I'm not even sure about this podcast for sure, but I've never been excited about VR. And Jack, you can attest to that for sure. I've always been your foil when it comes to discussion about VR, I think.
And you have tried it.
Yeah. And it's cool, but I can only think of a certain genre, like certain couple genres of games where I think this is where it'll shine. I think of like racing games, where you're like basically actually in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it's so awesome for those.
Yeah, or like flight simulator games where you're like in the cockpit and like you're just doing dogfights or something. Like those are cool, but like VR shooters, I just don't see that panning too well. I feel like we're gonna need a lot more technology for games like that to really be fun to play. Where it'll actually feel like you're in the environment and you're actually, like fighting for your life against the aliens or the demons or whatever. So I've never been a big fan of VR. I do think it's interesting that the Oculus Rift is coming down in such a strong price. Now, granted, this is a temporary price, right? This isn't like a full-on price cut. This is just like a sale they're running for a couple weeks. Remember, like, right on that?
Is it only a couple weeks? I thought it was for a few months.
Well, yeah, but it's not meant to be permanent from what my understanding was.
But again, the market will dictate.
It's true.
Certainly, there's going to be cuts around. You can expect cuts if they don't last this whole summer. You can expect them around Black Friday. You can expect them around Christmas time. You can expect them when the new Oculus Rift comes out. Like, this is just a crazy kind of precedent they're setting.
Right. But at the same time, you also said this earlier, Jack, is that you probably wouldn't buy into a first generation headset.
I would have last year had I not had to move across the country. I just thought it was like an irresponsible purchase back then. But I definitely have been eyeing it. I definitely have been like, hey, here pretty soon I'm going to be doing VR. But then I was like, well, the new headsets are probably going to be coming out. So now it's not a good time to do it. So I've kind of been going back and forth and teeter-tottering. But I did pull the trigger on PlayStation VR. And I'll tell you, the most fun I've ever had with VR is there's 2 times where I have fun with the game. It's the first time I ever play a game in VR. That's probably the most fun I'll have with it. And just experiencing it in that new world and just like having a brand new experience within a familiar type of experience. And then the second thing I love doing VR is showing people VR for the first time and seeing their reactions. That is like gold right there. That's like the most fun. I'll invite people over that have never even had any kind of exposure to it, and their minds are blown. I mean, they're freaking out, and like they talk about that experience like throughout the rest of the day. Like the real world feels different now after being in VR. Somehow, it's just a very strange feeling. It kind of tricks your brain in ways that you wouldn't expect. So those are the moments that I like about VR that I get to experience with my friends.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see where VR goes from here, right? Because it didn't really have that big of a presence this year, especially at E3.
I know.
Yeah, right? So it's not like there's much to look forward to. I know in the PC gaming show they had a couple VR titles there, and then in the was it Microsoft or was it PlayStation where they had those no-name boring like Bravo Team or Echo Bravo VR experiences, right? But nothing really jumped out to me in thinking like this is it. This is the breakthrough. Like this is what's gonna make VR mainstream. You know?
Well, I don't know, dude. Bethesda was pushing it pretty hard. I mean, they're bringing Doom, Skyrim, and Fallout all to VR, which is kind of huge. They were. Like I don't know how well it's gonna like be in VR or like how well it's gonna go, but like I don't know, like at least they're trying and they're seeing where it goes, and hopefully it goes over well. I think it's just VR has been talked about, and all it comes back to at the end of the day is it all becomes like we just got to wait and see, and that's just what it comes down to. Like we just got to wait and see what games are going to come out. We got to see how well it's going to be supported. I mean, there could also be the possibility of them coming out with cheaper and better headsets. But that's this thing, like the price tag is just so high. And I mean, the real exception right now is PlayStation VR, because units have been flying off the shelf so hard that people were complaining about not being able to find them for the longest time. And I know they didn't produce an insane amount because apparently they had the whole thing with like the lens manufacturer or something like that having a shortage. But like they've been relatively they've been selling relatively well. I think the last number that I heard was they were at like 900K units, almost a million. Wow. for PSVR.
Yeah.
No. That's not what I heard at all. No, I heard way less than that. I heard like around 400K. So we'll have to check that out. I don't know. Where did you get that information?
I think they were talking about it kind of funny, but they cited it from somewhere.
Okay. Well, we'll check that out later. I'm curious to see numbers too.
Yeah. But yeah, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure I remember hearing the number 900K being thrown around. Regardless, anyway, obviously PlayStation VR has been like the front runner so far for VR because it's just the most affordable option right now. Because I mean, you need like a baseline $250 machine, and then the $400 headset itself, or $500 if you get the bundle. And then you call it a day. You're good to go. You're playing VR. And I don't know, like I don't really question like the experience, like based on my own experience with VR. I have the one of the freaking phone things or whatever. The Samsung Gear VR. I have one of those. And I did experience a PlayStation VR once. I have not experienced like an Oculus or an HTC Vive. I heard HTC Vive is a relatively smoother experience though than PSVR is.
The Vive is the one to get if you have the money. The PS VR is definitely the one to get if you don't have or if you have some money but not enough to afford the HTC Vive. It's the Oculus Rift that's in a weird middle ground because the public perception. Now this may not be true or not, but the public perception is that the Oculus Rift is less capable than the Vive, whether or not that's true or not. And then
because I think it's slightly isn't the Vive slightly higher res or something like that. Or like the screen's better, or like
they have the same screen, they have the same resolution, I think, and the PSVR has a lower resolution than both of them. So
well, speaking of the PSVR, I did just look it up. They did surpass 1 million units per The Verge.
Okay,
Sony announced.
Okay.
This was like early June.
Okay, wow, that's higher than I thought. Sweet.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like. Anyway, yeah, like you said, I heard the Vive was the like if you have the money, go with the Vive because I think you can just do a little bit more with it too. From what I heard, like you can do, I mean it's you can move around a little bit more with it because I think the Oculus Rift limits you with that little camera, right, or something like that. In terms of my own experience with VR though, like I don't feel like I've personally like experienced enough different gaming experiences with it. In order to have like a full impression on it. I think I played Job Simulator on PSVR, and that's the only PSVR game I got to play.
It's a fun game.
So like it's a very fun game, and it was really fun to screw around it. But I didn't get to play like a serious experience like Resident Evil 7. Or but I would love to play like Doom or Fallout or Skyrim when it comes out. I would love to check that out.
Resident Evil 7 in VR is one of those moments in gaming that is kind of like a new milestone, I think, for gaming. I really think it's a landmark. Like, it is the first like killer app, in my opinion, in VR. Like a full-fledged game developed from the ground up for VR that objectively changes the experience you have. With it, and it's such a better game in VR. So
I'll even
think about.
I'll admit, even as someone who isn't that big into VR, like Resident Evil 7 is probably one of the few things I can think of where it makes me kind of excited for what VR can do.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like if I owned Vive and then I bought Resident Evil 7 and actually played it through VR, I feel like after a while it'd feel like a gimmick, or it'd feel, like, well, that was fun, but let's get back to playing it normally,
See, I don't have enough experience yet to really form an opinion about it, because I also haven't played like an extended game like that, or something like a Skyrim or something, to know whether or not I would want to play something in VR long term like that. Because I think the biggest thing for me personally would be the comfortability. Like the ability to sit down and actually be able to like play VR for that extended period amount of time. Because when you're actually sitting there like moving around, is completely different when you're, like I like to do on my Gear VR and just do like Groove VR, which is you just chill out, listen to music, and look at something that visualizes it for you. Like that's different because you're just sitting there chilling out and just enjoying the view. Whereas you're playing Skyrim, you're moving your arms around, you're picking up shit, you're constantly moving and shit going on. Next thing you know, you're sweating, you get uncomfortable in the headset, you need to take a break.
So the comment I can make on that, as someone who has tried on all of these headsets, is that the PlayStation VR is certainly the most comfortable for me, and it's what I've been seeing reported as well as the most comfortable for most people, and it's very light as well. But I'll back on Resident Evil 7 real quick, is I just want to say like that game is an absolute proof of concept that full-on games developed by established publishers, established developers can and do exist in VR, and it's definitely one of the must-play games with that. Also, I would say, Robert, Thumper. If you need to try Thumper in VR, that changes that game so crazily. It's awesome.
Yeah,
that's kind of all I got about VR. But yeah, go ahead,
Jack. So you played through Resident Evil 7 in
Not
VR?
through, no. I guys, I don't think I can. I played the demo.
Like it's just too
I played
scary?
the demo, and I've showed people the demo, like the first hour of the game. And it's so intense. Like I have a rule. I have a rule in my house. I have a rule in my house. Like when I'm playing VR, no one's allowed to touch me. Because it's because I don't want to like swing and bruise somebody, because it's a very strange feeling. Like, I'm serious. I can only imagine like stepping into the fourth dimension or something like that. When you're like in VR and you're in that space, you're in the game space, and then something touches you, or some like stimulus from the real world, like, affects your brain. But your brain isn't in the real world. It's in this game, right? You're in this haunted mansion in this basement, and this fucking scary monster is trying to decapitate you. Yeah. Like, and then someone touches you, and like it actually, fires off the neurons in your brain that someone's touching your skin. It's not something I recommend someone do.
You start swinging.
Yeah. Well,
your lizard brain kicks in. Yeah. And you start going to like self-preservation mode. It's really, really bizarre.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't imagine a game like, I don't know if I could do something like that, man, personally. But the reason why I asked you is because like I just wanted to know if like after playing for an extended period of time, whether or not you were still comfortable to like can you play like in VR like that for hours on end?
I could play that game, yeah.
Like, okay, so you could easily sit there and just like chill out and play Resident Evil 7 in VR for 3-4
hours,
regardless of like And that's what
I
I'm
would
getting
personally.
at,
I would personally take a break every hour. I would actually do what Nintendo tells you to do in those front of those, those disclaimers that everyone just goes by. I would actually probably do that.
Right.
I'd probably take a 15 minute break every hour, just because you do get a little bit sweaty on your forehead.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because I think the when I had my experience with Job Simulator and stuff, like I think I played for 30 minutes to an hour. I can't remember exactly how long. But like I do remember feeling like not really like fatigued, but I was getting kind of like sweaty and uncomfortable, and
like, a lot of that I think
has
to do with just the anxiety of like a new experience, and just I think once you kind of create it as a habit for you, I think it'd be a little less physically demanding.
Yeah,
fair enough. All right, thank you.
So to loop this back around to what we started talking about, do you guys think that the fact that the Oculus is doing such a huge price cut here, do you think that's like, what do you think that ushers in for the next phase here? Like, is this maybe the beginning of the phasing out of Oculus maybe? Or could this be leading to like, this is the end of the first era of VR and era 2 is on the horizon, generation 2?
Yeah, Gen 2 has to be in development. It has to get better, because if it's going to exist, it has to improve, because the current value it's offering is not enough to satisfy what the market's demanding. So VR has a long way to go. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon, and the rewards are going to be felt by the companies that kind of innovate on technology now and can deliver higher quality technology at a lower price. But it's going to be a while. It's not going to happen. It might not be the next gen where it happens either. It might be 3-4 generations down the road, and who knows, who's going to rise from the rubble of this VR kind of headset arms race.
Yeah, I definitely think I think VR, and this is what frustrates me right now, because like it's trying so hard to like shoehorn itself into normality, and it wants to be there, but it's just not quite there yet. It's not there in price. It's not there in technology just quite yet. There's not enough people with faith in it quite yet to really drive it and make it the norm. So like, I think like Jack said, it's going to take a while. The technology is going to have to develop. They're going to come up with the next generation, and it might be a couple generations, but the technology is going to get better, as technology always does. It's going to get cheaper, and it's going to reach a certain point where I certainly hope this is the future, but it's going to reach a certain point where VR is the next jump for normality in video games. It's going to reach a level where it's comfortable enough, where it's cheap enough, where the technology is good enough, where everyone can easily get a hold and set up a VR system, and they can play most, if not all, of their games in VR in some way, shape, or form.
Robert, you're wearing glasses. I'm wearing glasses. It's going to have to get like that.
Yeah,
it's going to have to get as easy as putting on a pair of glasses. Everything's going to have to be wireless. It's going to, before it really reaches critical mass, and how long, is that going to be in the future? But that's where it has to get to.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with that too, because VR just seems like such a hassle right now. It's definitely more of like an enthusiast thing.
Oh, completely. Yeah,
for
completely.
Sure. I agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got to be crazy, basically, and I'm one of those crazy people.
I want to be one of those crazy people. I just can't fucking afford it.
Yeah, I know.
I can't afford to be crazy.
I can't afford it. Man, I already spent too much money on games already. Come on.
Yeah, so we had a couple real quick bullet points that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so looking kind of ahead, EVO is happening this weekend, the big fighting game tournament. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of remind our viewers that's happening, since, I mean, I've been getting into fighting games a lot recently. Jack, I know you've been following EVO for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm very excited. This is the follow-up year. Man, you know what? I'm ashamed to say I don't even know if this year is going to be on ESPN or not. Maybe one of you guys can look that up and let me know. But last year it was on ESPN for the first time. And what EVO is basically, the end of the Karate Kid. Well, imagine that, but it's fighting games instead of real life karate. It's basically the best in the world coming. It's basically Mortal Kombat, right? It's the best in the world coming to a common location and testing their skills, and across multiple fighting games. So you've got Smash Brothers for Wii U, which is making a big run this year. You've got Injustice 2, Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5. You've got even Super Smash Brothers Melee all the way back on the GameCube.
But
which
I mean,
is pretty awesome.
That's a classic, though, in the fighting.
It's the de facto standard. Yeah, there are people that will never stop playing Melee. That game has really cemented its place in the fighting game community. So this is just one of those really weird events that are part of the reason why I love games overall, and I'm really looking forward to it. Did you guys find out if it's on ESPN or not?
Yes. So they will be broadcasting the Street Fighter V finals on ESPN 2, not the Ocho.
Oh, okay. So not the regular ESPN
not
either.
The Ocho.
I got you.
Yeah.
So
that's ESPN 2.
Okay, that's cool. Well, that's better than nothing. But it's just of note as well that these are just going to be the grand finals for one game. Whereas if you're going to watch it on Twitch or YouTube or streaming online anywhere, they're going to have a bunch of coverage as well. So you don't just wait for ESPN. It's going to be going on all weekend. And the grand finals for, Guilty Gear and all these other games that are coming out, like some of the greatest moments in competition, in combat competition, really. So I think that I would expect no less from this. Infiltration is the defending champion in Street Fighter V with his Charlie, and we'll see what happens, see what comes out. Some of my favorites that I'm looking forward to, Gamer B, Daigo, of course, Filipino Man, or Filipino Champ, sorry. There's a lot of really cool characters kind of in the FGC, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I kind of want to, like, now that I've been getting a lot into fighting games, I kind of want to get more into the FGC, and I'm like treating EVO 2017 as kind of my first step into the bigger culture. And I think what's really interesting about fighting games is even if you're not really, really into them, it's such a treat to watch such high skilled players like do what they're doing, even if you don't fully understand what a fighting game is, you can kind of tell how much skill there is that's happening on the screen, like how many inches they're giving each other before someone takes the full mile and does a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's akin to watching, just like Wimbledon or watching NFL, like you're watching people that are in their prime at the peak of human capabilities doing what they do best, and it's always just kind of a celebration of what people are capable of. And when you dedicate yourself to one game and one character, in often cases, what can be achieved, it's really interesting to watch how this genre has evolved.
Right. And like watching the championship and for like fighting game championships, it's kind of like, even if you don't necessarily get big into like fighting games or even gaming in general, it's one of those things where like just for the sheer skill and competition that goes into it, people still watch it. It's kind of like Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer in tennis, right? Yeah. Like people may not even really give a shit about tennis, but they'll watch that match because
of who
these
it is.
Two highly skilled players, are going at it, and it's just insane to watch.
Yeah,
there are two moments from EVO's past that I want to just put out there. If you guys can feel free to watch it in your free time or Google search or whatever. There's one from, was it last year or 2 years ago at most? But there was a match going on in Guilty Gear, and one guy was not paying attention and thought that he actually won the match and didn't know there was actually one more round in the match to be fought. He won the second to last round, got up, put his stick down, and started pumping his fist in the air and celebrating. Meanwhile, the other guy totally proceeds to beat his ass. Because,
I remember seeing that.
and he just celebrated early, and like everyone was like the ultimate fist, or face palm moment in Evo ever, and the guy ended up losing. It was incredible. It was, can you imagine that? Can you imagine like Tom Brady, like running the football and the other person's like end
we got
zone?
it to the 90-yard line. We did it.
Yeah, exactly. And just stopping and going home, like hugging and kissing Giselle and packing up. Like, no, like you would never imagine that. And so that's one memory that just stands out to me that, I'm looking forward to other memories being made this weekend. But the second one I want the audience to know about is the event that got me into fighting games in a competitive sense anyways, internationally. It just search on YouTube, just search Daigo Parry. I know that's weird, two words, but Daigo Parry. Daigo Parry. Just trust me. Okay. Just watch what happens there and have fun.
It's magical for sure.
Yes, absolute game magic. So, and Collin just watched it for the first time ever just a few minutes ago, so maybe he can give you a quick.
It was mind blowing.
Some first impressions.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So yeah, like look forward to that. That's happening July 14 through 16. So this whole weekend happening in Las Vegas. You can stream it live for free. So yeah, hit that up if you're really interested in the fighting game community for sure. And just one more thing that we kind of wanted to touch on before moving forward into our ending here. Final Fantasy XII remaster, Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age, did come out this week.
Such an awesome game.
This past yesterday, or at the time of this recording, it'd be yesterday, July 11th, Tuesday, dropped.
Yeah. And to my understanding, Collin, you are planning on playing this game, right?
Yes, I do. I ended up picking up like the Steelbook edition or whatever. No, I didn't buy the $200 fucking collector's edition because
was that one of those collector's editions that didn't even come with the game?
No, it came with a game. It came like here's what it came with. It came with like the game in like a cool little steelbook, but it was different from like the steelbook edition. It had like exclusive art or whatever. Right. It came with some art cards, and then it came with 4 little mini bust statues.
Oh man, Final Fantasy XII is one of my favorite Final Fantasy games of all time. I love it. I love so much about it. We can talk about it a little bit more. What
was that?
Was that you, Robert?
That's my roommate playing League of Legends.
I was like, wait a second. Yeah, I thought someone hit a soundbite or whatever.
We can keep that in.
Hey,
it's
we're
fine.
really nerds, guys. We're really nerds. This is not an act.
Yeah, no, I can edit that out.
No, we're leaving it.
We're leaving that in?
Please.
Oh, yeah, it's in there. So
okay,
yeah, that's hilarious. So okay, I was talking about Final Fantasy real quick, but it was a game that, if you remember back in its development time, it took forever to be made, years and years and years. And Final Fantasy XII, I was awaiting it. It was torturous, kind of like you, Robert, waiting for Persona 5.
Yes.
And it finally came out, and man, it did not disappoint. But I didn't get it right when it came out. I actually waited several months, actually, and I still have the strategy guide, the collector's edition strategy guide. I'm looking at it right now, actually, on my bookshelf. But I bought the collector's edition strategy guide and the steelbook version on PS2. I want to say total like $35. Because that's how aggressive the discounts were, yeah. So, and then I got like literally hundreds of hours of entertainment out of that game. So we'll talk about it a little bit more when Collin's had some time with it. But just want you guys to know it's out this week, and definitely I could not recommend it enough. If you love the world of Ivalice, if you love Matsuno, if you love kind of medieval style Final Fantasy, if anything like that sounds appealing to you, at least check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you like junior PGs, I think you'll like it.
I don't know what that is.
JRPGs.
Oh, I thought you said junior.
Junior. No,
PGs. He did say junior PGs.
Oh, that was a sick burn. Oh, I get it. Okay.
I don't think it was.
No. It was just a play on words. JRPG.
I don't even know how I'd call that a play.
Or whatever. So, it was just me being stupid. Whatever.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, what happened? What did he just win?
I think he lost or something. I don't fucking.
Oh, okay.
So
everyone lost here. That's what happened. We're all losers in this.
Yeah. I mean, you're always losing if you're playing League of Legends.
Let's be real.
Yeah. So Jack, you want to hit us with that hot, sweet? Yeah. What's the loophole to this? Would you rather?
I am eventually gonna hold you guys to getting some kind of theme music, because this is kind of turning into a game show. We need some like trivia music or something like that before this. But I digress. So. All right. I'm very much looking forward to this, and in keeping with tradition, I did not look to the internet for this. I keep coming up with my own ideas, and I'm trying to make them as loophole proof as possible. So
that's impossible, but go ahead.
I know I try. I can try. Can I not? Okay, so this week's Would You Rather is pretty funny, I think.
Here we go.
Would you rather be world renowned for your video game prowess and die a virgin? Or would you rather be world renowned for your sexual prowess and never play video games your entire life? Discuss.
I mean, that's stupid. That's a stupid question.
Oh, well, I appreciate it.
I don't even want to that's some shit you find on Reddit that you make fun of.
I did, yeah. I didn't find this one on Reddit, but yeah, I do make fun of this.
But yeah, you could this is totally straight out of that same like cast of questions.
Now, okay, so we're gonna have to fucking break this down because
I don't think it's that stupid a question.
Oh, it's so stupid of a question.
Okay,
we're like, okay, this is gonna get a little graphic, but so when you say that I can have be world renowned for my video game prowess, but not have to be a virgin the rest of my life.
No, your whole life. Your whole life, not the rest of your life.
Yeah, you don't you don't regain your virginity and you keep that forever.
Right. Or well, yeah, my whole life. Yeah, never had sex, never can have sex, whatever. So. And on the other side, there's, you'd be world renowned for your sexual prowess, but you can never play video games. So here's the thing. When you say you will always remain a virgin. Does that mean like you just can't have sexual intercourse?
Oh, we're getting nitty gritty.
Jeez.
Oh man.
I mean, dude, come on. You gotta give me something.
You're bringing it this way, Jack.
Okay. No. Okay.
Go.
Yeah. No sexual contact
At all.
No sexual contact at all. Not even like a kiss or something basic.
You're world
like that.
renowned for your video game prowess.
What about
Fuck,
Jill?
Dude.
Jail?
Jill, your hand.
Ew, what? I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Can you fucking masturbate is what he's saying.
Like, is there at least that? Or is there like nothing? Nothing?
Yeah, I'll throw you a bone, so to speak.
Okay, good.
Jesus.
So you can at least work out your prostate is what I'm hearing.
Oh my gosh, we're earning this explicit tag.
Hey, you asked, like, where did you expect this to go with that question?
I guess right here, we're cozy.
Okay.
We're cozying up.
So here's the thing. When I listen to those two, the obvious answer to me is world renowned for video games. Because think about it, we're all men. No. Here's the thing. We're all men. When's the last time a man has been world renowned for like fucking Ron Jeremy? And that's it. Like, who gives a shit? You're not gonna make millions of dollars because you have a big dick. You've got nothing. You know what I mean? Like, what, Hugh Hefner? You're gonna be a 90-year-old Hugh Hefner? Like, that's gonna.
But
like,
just
fucking,
think, you're gonna be like known as like, hey, like every woman's gonna want you. Basically, is another way to say it. Like you would have your pick of any woman, any and all women in the world.
I mean,
that's really
like,
what I mean here. Not like you're Ron Jeremy the Hedgehog.
I mean, dude. So fucking Ron Jeremy.
I love how that's the go-to.
Ron the Hedgehog Jeremy.
Dude, I don't know. Like, I'm torn because I mean, Robert has a point because like, I mean, all we know is fucking like Ron Jeremy and maybe like Johnny Sins or someone like really fucking famous.
What I mean to say is that you would have your choice of any woman in the world because
Yeah, but you could never play video game. Like, dude. Video games is like my fucking
conversation we've ever had.
Oh, this is not weeaboo. Please, I can bring it to weeaboo.
But you're like, you don't even know weeaboo yet. Okay, Collin.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry.
No, like, okay. So if you're like the most like world renowned for your sexual like. But the thing is, though, you can never play video games again. And the thing about that is, like...
And here, Collin, think about this in absolutes as well. It's not that you can never play video games again. It's that you have never played and never will play video games.
So, okay. So then at that point, you're just not even me anymore.
Basically.
Like, yeah. So I think, okay, so if I was me without ever... have played video games without ever having experienced video games, I think instinctually a man would want to lean towards being well known for your sexual prowess,
right?
Because if you're a person that's completely unimpressioned in this situation, you're gonna naturally lean towards being world renowned for your sexual prowess. So I think many other men, like many other, if you surveyed a bunch of men like right now, just like a random sample of like 1,000 men, I think a lot of them, and this is just speculation, I think a lot of them would lead towards being world renowned for their sexual prowess.
Okay, can we please stop saying world renowned and just say renowned? Because world renowned still draws like fucking Ron Jeremy in my head, which is like clearly not what you're going for, Jack. Like, Jack, what you're going for is basically like everyone talks about, like, man, he was a good fuck.
Not
right?
really like they're talking about it either. It's just that any barriers, between you and having whoever you want to, dating whoever you want to date are removed. It's basically like the essential idea I'm getting at.
Okay, so not world renowned, but just can we just say renowned, please?
Okay, fine. I wrote down one word. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. But okay, so thinking from that mindset, I would have to go with renowned for sexual prowess.
Wow, and you'd give up your whole identity.
No, but here's the thing, though. If we're speaking from what I was talking about, I never really had an identity to begin with because I never experienced video games in the first place.
Plus, I don't think there's much giving up your identity here because the question is literally, would you like your identity to be video games or sex?
Okay.
Like, there isn't.
Basically,
there's not much gray area. You know what I mean? Like,
so you picked. So that's yours, Collin.
Yeah, because like, I don't know, because the thing is like being renowned for video game prowess. Like, of course, that would be the obvious answer for me, obviously, because I like video games so much. But like, if I never having played video games anyway, then I'd probably leave towards sexual.
Think about the video game option. Like, obviously, it goes without saying you're most definitely probably financially independent. You're probably a millionaire, right? I mean, you are a pro at whatever game you want to be a pro at. You have endorsements. Like, it's a pretty lavish life. You're kind of like the Floyd Mayweather of video games.
Yeah.
Okay.
But think about it this way too. Sex is a universal. Like, everyone has sex. Well, almost everyone has sex, right? Whereas, like, basically, if you go into an elevator and someone else gets on, they're not necessarily going to be able to talk to you about video games, but they could easily talk to you about sex. It'd be weird
in the elevator. Awkward.
It'd be weird, but they'd probably have something to input rather than just, I've never played Street Fighter.
Right.
I've never held a control.
It's a lot more relatable.
It's very much more relatable.
Like, it's the reason we're all here, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to my parents.
Yeah. Gross. Now I'm thinking about your parents now. Thanks, Robert.
Yeah.
What's up with both of you shaming your parents on the podcast?
Hey, it's not shame. Are you saying that my birth was shameful?
Oh my God!
You took that way. Personal.
Like, yeah, I think I'd have to agree with Collin in that.
Wow.
Being renowned for like sex makes more sense when it comes to social stigma, right? Because like when you have your virginity tacked on, like, stories of like the 40-year-old virgin or whatever, right? Like, it's got a lot of social stigma to it. Whereas like people aren't gonna make fun of you, like, oh, you're shit at Tekken. Wow, you're a piece of human garbage. Like, look at you,
Yeah, but like no one's ever gonna, like, you know what I mean? No one's gonna ever low blow you for being really good at sex.
Good word choice.
Yeah.
That too. No, so my other question is too, in this situation, right? So like if you have really good, like, if you're renowned for your sexual prowess, does that mean you kind of almost have like very high charisma? Like, your fucking charisma is just like at 100?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you put all your points in that.
Yeah, so like you could basically seduce anyone or basically bend anyone to your will in a way.
You would have charisma, and I'm sure it'd be transferable to the opposite sex. But also, I would assume that you'd probably have members of the same sex probably hitting on you too.
That's what I'm saying. That too. So like, yeah. So like, I mean, you could do a lot more with that, man.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially. So. Yeah, I think my decision still stands. Sexual prowess.
So social status.
Final answer.
So it sounds to me like you're choosing social status across the world and across humanity rather than social status within the video game community.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to put it that way.
Because the reason why I was so against this question the second you said it is because it's all absolutes. It's this idea.
Well, you're trying to find the loophole, and I'm trying to seal the loophole.
Well, yeah, but when you seal the loophole, like, the thing is, you're saying, like, would you rather have really high charisma but have never played a video game ever? And it's like, I wouldn't know. Like, if that became me, like, if I pushed that button and I woke up the next day, like, super charismatic, I'd never played a video game in my life, I wouldn't know what I'm missing because I've never played a video game in my life.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's
what
the
I was
thing.
coming. That's
the
where I was
thing
coming
about
from.
it, though, guys, and I think we can both speak to this, is that when I do meet people that are like, oh, I don't play video games, or they're just like write it off, or they don't really know really what they're talking about, like, oh yeah, maybe I played Tetris a little bit, but that's it. Like, I don't know, like, I genuinely feel sorry for those people. I genuinely, like, I'm like, man, you are missing out on like so much of creativity from human brains. Like, I just feel like you're missing out on such incredible unique experiences. I actually have sympathy for people when they're like, I don't play video games.
Yeah, no, the thing is, you won't find
I agree.
Yeah, you won't
with
find anyone on this podcast who'd say otherwise, right? Like, but at the same time, you're asking, would you like to wake up one day, not know, like, erase all your memories with video games, all your opinions of video games, and just be good at being a charismatic person? So it's like, you don't know what you're missing once you've made that decision.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So in the same way, like, well, that's the reason why, like, I think the charisma is the right choice, because, like, even if you chose, like, always a virgin, forever a virgin, right? It's not like you don't know what you're missing when it comes to sex. You know what I mean? Like, either you're talking with someone or you stumble on that porn website, like, you'll know what you're missing at some point. Whereas, like, if you never play a video game, you can watch someone play, like, I don't know, Forza and be like, oh, that's cool, I guess. But
It's kind of more the normal now. Now people just normally just watch other people play. It's really strange rather than play themselves.
Yeah. So I don't know. That question to me is a little
easy. The thing I was trying to head off at the pass is you being like, oh, well, I'd rather just be world renowned for video games because the sex will come with that.
Well, then the question is, would you rather be like wake up the next day and be very good at video games but not have a penis anymore? Or just like you can never have sex again, the kind of thing. Like maybe you have a contract where you're like good at video games, but the second that you do sex, it's over. It's all over. It's gone.
Do sex, son.
Yeah, you sold your penis for video games.
Good Lord.
Like sold your soul for rock and roll, but different.
Very different.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the different category.
Yeah. So, welcome to the explicit.
This is like this is the weird version of the Crossroads.
Yeah, this is our explicit tag Tiny Disc podcast. Hope you enjoyed our episode. So we're gonna wrap up here. So Jack, you wanna shill that the contest you've been running?
Oh yeah, hey guys, that's still going on. Let's get some more up there. I've seen a few come through, but we definitely need a few more 5-star reviews on iTunes. So once you do that, and also subscribe to our podcast, and then follow us on Twitter and tweet at us with the hashtag TDP, you'll be entered into our contest for new subscribers for a large cash sum. So that's still ongoing, and I think it will continue through the end of this month. But don't delay it. It literally takes 5 minutes, and that would probably equal like $50 an hour basically. So go ahead and do that, and we'll make it worth your while.
Yep. And don't forget to also follow us on Twitter at Tiny Disc Podcast. You can also email us at tinydiscpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, where Collin moderates our Facebook group, I believe just called Tiny Disc, correct?
Right. Yeah, and I think I'm actually going to get our just a regular official Facebook page up and running as well here soon, just because just to take advantage of boosting posts and all that fun stuff.
Very fun.
So look out for that as well.
And then also email us at tinydiscpodcast@gmail.com. Also, we are going to start involving the community a little bit more here, and in the next couple weeks or so, we're going to start doing some community contributed Would You Rather questions. So look forward to that too.
Very nice. Yeah. So let's get on to individual social posts here. Where could we find you guys online?
I'm Collin Amano on Twitter, aka at @booboo__55.
At Jack Cepeda, JACCEPEDA.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget our official Twitter at Tiny Disc Podcast, where you get show updates and shoot us with any comments, questions, concerns, all that good stuff. And let us know what you think.
And you can also find me, Robert, on Twitter at Pinoptimist, PINOPTIMIST. And that should wrap us up for this episode. We'll still have that spoiler cast coming in a bit. So stick around for that if you're interested in hearing our full uncensored thoughts. That has a weird sound to it now after that Would You Rather.
I know. What kind of Spider-Man movie did they make?
So tune into that if you're interested in our thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming. And if you still haven't seen the film yet, you probably want to tune out around here. So tune in next time for another episode of the Tiny Disc Podcast, and we'll see you next Thursday.
See you on the other side.
Hey, if you're sticking around here, you're probably interested in some Spider-Man Homecoming spoilers, huh? So, welcome to the spoiler cast of Spider-Man Homecoming, the Marvel Cinematic Universe's newest film. Came out last Friday, starring Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. So, now that we don't have spoilers hindering us, what are you guys' full thoughts of the film? Okay, let's maybe focus a little more. You liked the film, right? Both of you kind of enjoyed the film?
Yes, I like the film, and I'm starting to fall in love with the hideous, horrendous movie Photoshop poster that's been going around that is like an abomination of design. Have you guys caught that yet?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait, which one are you guys talking about?
It's on their Wikipedia page if you look there. It's like the main image. But man, it's such a cluster of jank ugly. But no, I do like the movie. I think it's a great summer popcorn movie. Had great humor moments, great action. Overall, I'm warm to it.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed how funny the film was. Like, I didn't expect it to be as funny as it was.
Same.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. I was laughing almost damn near throughout the movie. Funny. Like, it was great.
What they did with the film, instead of just making Spider-Man funny, they kind of they wrote everyone to be funny, or to put everyone in like funny situations. Like, Spider-Man's best friend in this film, Ned, he is a treasure trove of comedy moments. He's definitely the comedy relief. He's the Pancho Villa of this film. You know what I mean? Like the second.
Hey, so what are you doing in here? There's a dance. Watching porn.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Yeah. Do you lay eggs? All that kind of stuff. He's definitely the humor of the film for sure, which I think kind of takes away a little bit from like what Spider-Man should be like, because he should be the funny one in the film, or at least the one who's trying to be funny, because that's like kind of Spider-Man's gig while he's fighting. He's like a quippy, witty, like smarmy guy.
He's a family-friendly Deadpool.
Yeah. I mean, like that scene in the beginning with the banks, like, hey, you're not the Avengers, right? Like, that kind of like silly banter is kind of what Spider-Man's all about. And I guess Ned kind of balances out the humor, because like when he's being Peter Parker, I think Tom Holland does a really great job of portraying Peter Parker in that, like, he's like weird and kind of socially awkward. Like, I think of the scene when he finally asks Liz out to homecoming. Like, there he was that sweaty, like, oh no, what do I say? Like, she's 2 years older than me and I'm just a sophomore. Like, he nails that pretty perfectly, I think, in that whole scene.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I think Tom Holland does a fantastic job of playing both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I think he's probably the best person to be cast for that role. Better than both Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, he straight up reminded me of I can't remember if it was the animated series from the 90s, or it was more like Ultimate Spider-Man animated series, Peter Parker. It reminded me a lot of that for sure, and it definitely caught that vibe.
Right.
Absolutely 100% the best Spider-Man movie that's probably ever been made, in my opinion. I can say that now. And like, where did John Watts come from? Like, way out of left field. I'm not familiar with any of his previous works. The director of this film, like, what had happened? I mean, obviously the movie has a few issues here and there, like I can get into later, but I was hoping that when Marvel finally got their mitts on this character, that they would do right by it, and they definitely did not disappoint. It was much better than I expected it to be. I thought the pacing was excellent. The music doesn't stand out to me so much.
Same here.
Yeah, no. I can't really think of. I can't point to musical elements, because I think the music did play a bigger role in the Sam Raimi trilogy.
Yeah, for sure. Like, honestly, like, as much as I disliked Spider-Man 3, I'll never forget like the Black Suit Spider-Man theme. That dun 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 dun.
There's memorable music in those movies. And where's Nickelback on this one, guys? What's going on here? There's no Nickelback song.
They went with a more classic rock kind of vibe at the beginning of the film. They had Blitzkrieg Bop playing. They had Can't You Hear Me Knockin'? They had a lot of like the license picks for the songs. I think were pretty good. They kind of felt very inspired by Guardians of the Galaxy in terms of like what choice of songs to do.
Yeah, they had the Ramones there at the end. Was a pretty cool touch. One thing I can remember as well, I just watched this last night, about 24 hours ago actually, since we're recording this now, but is that the CG is kind of spotty in places. It's not very consistent. I remember there were some parts I was like, that looks real CG, and it's just not what you would expect from a Marvel film. I guess you would expect that by this point, 2017, they'd have it kind of figured out.
Are you referencing maybe the parts with the Vulture?
You mean the main character or the main villain? Yeah. So hold on,
Michael. Yeah, there's some
not
of the CG
necessarily. I was
pretty...
thinking more of the Iron Man suit parts. Seemed a little spotty to me.
That's
really what I'm thinking about.
I can see that.
But also, you bring up Vulture. That is Michael Keaton's character. And Michael Keaton, I'll always remember as the actual Batman. He is the real Batman in my heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the movie was Spider-Man versus Batman.
Well, no, it was actually Spider-Man versus the Fury, or not? I can't remember the character's name. I'm going to mess it up now. From Metal Gear Solid 5. Kojima made that exact same character. Have you guys played Metal Gear Solid 5?
I did, but I can't remember any of the characters.
Okay, I'm looking it up right now. But anyways, or not 5, sorry, 4. I'm misquoting completely. Metal Gear Solid 4. It's totally one of the bosses in that game. And is this...
Are you thinking of 3, actually? Because the Fury is a boss in 3.
No. I know, Fury's 3. No, I'm thinking of 4 for sure. I'll get there. But
4 is like the Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay. And it looks like it has... the villain in that game has like a grenade launcher and stuff. Looks exactly
Raging
like
Raven.
This. Raging Raven. Yeah, thank you very much. So that's exactly the character, and to the point where even Kojima went on Twitter and was like, "What the fuck?" You know, they're like, "This is my character."
Kojima's like, "What the fuck?"
Well, essentially,
really?
I'm not quoting him, but that was his sentiment. And like, is this a character from the comic books?
The Vulture, yeah,
it is.
He's definitely a character.
Did it look just
Vulture,
like this in the comic books?
No. He was if I recall from the comics, he looked a lot less mechanical. He's like, I don't know if it was like a suit, like a special suit that he wore instead of like all these mechanical machines and shit he had going on. Help me out, Robert. Do you know?
I mean, for one, the Vulture is way older in the comics. I know that. And he's definitely not mechanical for sure. There's a lot more feathers going on. Like like very bird-like. Whereas this take on the Vulture is definitely a lot more machinery, like not steampunky, but it's like cyberpunky almost. It's
it almost reminded me of like Sam Raimi's take on the New Goblin in a way, or like the Hobgoblin, quote unquote.
Wow.
No, it reminds me a bit too of like especially that scene like toward the end when Peter confronts Toombs, and in that like big garage. And then Toombs calls in the flyer. I got very like ending of Spider-Man, like Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1 vibes with that.
Yeah. I mean, look at the picture I just put up in chat. Like, it's exactly the same thing. Dude. Almost. It's way too close to be cool. Kojima definitely called it out on social media, like what's going on.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that was a distraction for me, but I thought Michael Keaton's acting, I just think he's underrated as an actor. I think he's a very good actor. And when he wants to be scary, when he wanted to be intimidating in that car scene, that was a very, almost like, dude.
That was a very tense
that was
scene.
almost Tarantino-esque. I really thought that. Where they're driving to the dance,
I can see that.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, can we please talk about that whole scene first? So, did either of you see it coming that the Spider-Man's like kind of girlfriend is related to the villain?
Hold on. I kind of feel like that was a cheap shot too. I kind of feel like manipulated by that too, because obviously you never would, because the female's African American or half African American,
right?
And
he's
Michael Keaton's white as white, right? Like, right. So I almost feel a little manipulated by that, and I've kind of learned, like, just through life experiences, I kind of resent when movie makers do that and just like manipulate me. Like, oftentimes when like sad music comes on or something real dramatic happens, I'm just like, I'm just being manipulated right now. Like, I kind of see through it, and it doesn't give the punch that I want. But honestly, at the time, I was like, like a big gasp, like what's going on? But then now I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, that was kind of like a cheap shot in a way.
So here's something that I noticed, because I watched it twice. I watched it once with like a couple of my friends, and then I watched it again last night with Collin because he needed to watch it for this podcast. And what I noticed on my second watch through is actually the very first. Do you remember the very first scene of the movie? The first thing you see from the movie?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, the part where he's like, oh yeah, my kid's so smart or whatever, and he has like all the pictures of the Avengers.
It's Michael Keaton bragging about his kid to a fellow worker.
Okay, and showing the coloring drawing, right?
Yeah, and he's like, like when I was a kid, I used to play like cowboys and Indians. The guy's like, oh, it's actually Native American. That whole thing. Like, he's the first thing he talks about is his kid. And then it moves on to like, I protect my family. I'm doing this for my family. Yeah. So they do establish that he's a family man, but they only establish that he has a kid in that very first scene. And you kind of assume with the word family, like a kid is involved, but they don't mention that he has a kid until it's explicitly stated the second he opens that door. And then the first time you ever see her mom, I feel like, is that scene too, isn't it? No, you see her when they come back from DC. You see only the mom, not the dad, hugging Liz, like, oh, thank God you're safe, kind of that scene. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I remember it has been a while since I've said, "Oh shit," out loud in a theater. Yeah, no shit. I mean, it was a big moment. It was definitely the biggest like reveal in a Marvel movie that I can remember for a while.
Yeah, like honestly, it's funny because like when we were watching that scene happened, like my knee jerk reaction was like, wait, he took like this girl hostage. I was like, wait, no, it doesn't make any sense. He's not Spider-Man right now. He's Peter Parker. He doesn't know he's Peter Parker. And he was like, oh
yeah.
I was like, oh man. Shit.
And that scene too, it's really well done because it's coming off that little montage where he asks Aunt May like, help me out. I'm taking this really cute girl to homecoming and like I need to impress her or whatever. And you see the montage of her like helping him dress up, teaching him how to dance, all that stuff. It's like a really happy music. He's got the corsage. He walks up to the door. Music dies. It dies in a very uncomfortable spot.
Yeah.
The same second that door opens.
And then Stifler's mom answers the door.
Yeah. And no music in that scene. It's dead silent. He walks into the house. It's so quiet while you're digesting what's happening. And then all of a sudden, very loud, the mother walks in. Hey, Peter. And it's like, it's so loud and jarring. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Like, why are they so comfortable? He shouldn't be comfortable.
Right. It was it was very well done. Definitely a standout scene for me. I mean, I read some reviews, saying that the Spider-Man movie is basically a John Hughes film, from the 80s.
Yeah.
It's a high school feel good kind of film, and I like what they did with the characters. I like what they did with Flash, the main bully. I thought that was pretty. Yeah, I like what they did. I like how they evolved him instead of being like a jock, bully. He was a lot different this time. So
I don't know. See, in the Sam Raimi films, they made him look like he could be one of the Backstreet Boys, or he looked like he belonged in Smash Mouth.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my only problem, my problem with how they cast or how they wrote Flash in this film, is that he's supposed to be intimidating at first. He's supposed to be like someone that Peter's kind of scared of. Not who Spider-Man's scared of, but who Peter Parker is scared of, right? And in this film, every time he did something, it was just kind of like, he's like a child throwing a tantrum. Like, when I say penis, you say Parker.
I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was hilarious. And that part actually is my favorite part of Flash moment in that movie.
Of the whole film?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought it was so ridiculous. It was just like, it just made me laugh at like, who actually, like, some writer sat down and committed that to paper on a script. Like, that was the part that was fascinating to me. Like, this is actually in this film. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. I didn't expect Penis Parker to be the thing to make it into the film.
Yeah, I was like, we're resorting to penis jokes.
Yeah.
Okay. No, dude. The best part of the whole movie is obviously Hannibal Buress as the phys ed teacher.
That was cool. Yeah, and
dude, that was pretty great.
He was the butt of many jokes too. That one girl, the real dry humor girl, that said she
Zendaya.
She just likes drawing people in crisis. Like, and then like later, you see her after he loses the suit to Iron Man again. You see her drawing him too. I just thought like it was just very well paced, very well thought out. Overall, the aesthetics of the film seemed just a little lower budget than I'm used to for Marvel. Again, but maybe it led to that part of the charm of it. I don't fault the game or the game. I don't fault the movie. Yeah, I don't fault the movie at all for that. And it also had me thinking about the game that they showed at E3 as well too. Like, it kind of gave me a little more positive vibes as far as Spider-Man, because I was worried for sure because I've already been burnt multiple times on getting excited for Spider-Man movies.
Right.
But this one has kind of renewed my faith.
Yeah, I kind of do want to revisit Zendaya too, because she plays as Michelle, who at the end of the movie she says, my friends call me MJ.
Yeah, Disney Channel girl.
So
that's MJ.
Well, yes and no.
No,
So what the directors of
that caught me. I was like, I forgot about that. The part she's like, oh, I'm actually MJ.
It's like, my friends call me MJ, right? And the director came out and said that like that's meant to be more of an homage to like the Sam Raimi films, because like Mary Jane Watson was the love interest in that, but she is like, this Michelle character played by Zendaya is definitely not Mary Jane Watson. Is what they're saying. So like, I kind of get where they're coming from, but it's still kind of weird to directly like to one, the character's name isn't Mary Jane, but to still directly basically take the nickname is kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's an homage.
I don't get that.
Yeah. But I do think she did an incredible job this film in being like just on the fringe of most scenes, but still like nailing everything she does. Like, it's really funny every time she's on the screen, and she becomes like this quirky, weird but likable character.
I mean, a lot of it is her performance, but a lot of it also is the editing too. I think that the editing might be a little bit of the unsung hero in this film. When I started thinking about the action scenes and just the humor, you have to nail the editing with that. So it's one of the few movies where I actually consciously thought about that and like want to look up now, like, hey, actually, who edited this movie and what else have they done? Because it really helps the film have its own identity in the Marvel universe.
Now, something I want to throw at you guys. How did you feel about the final fights? Well, not the final fight scene, but the whole scene on the plane toward the end when it's Vulture v Spider-Man. Did you find the action kind of hard to follow sometimes?
I did, but I thought it was maybe just because I was getting tired and I was starting to doze a little bit. Not because the movie's bad at all. It's just because I'd been up since 6:30 that morning and it's 10:30 at night and in a dark, cold theater. I was just starting to get tired, obviously, but I definitely was getting a little bit lost there at the end with what happened, but I was able to kind of parse it all together the next morning.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if it's so much that I couldn't follow it. I just I think the thing that stands out to me about the final fight about the final fight the most is the part where Peter like carries Vulture out, right? He saves him, and like they've both fall on the ground. And I was waiting for a scene, right, where they were like both laying there, and they had like some sort of like revelatory speech with each other, but like some sort of dialogue that. And I was like waiting for it because I was just kind of wanting that satisfaction, and it just never happened, and I was kind of sad because of that. Yeah. Am I the only one?
I wasn't really expecting something too big there.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was something small, but like the fact that they would like there wasn't any dialogue just seemed kind of odd to me.
But I don't know. I wasn't like I felt like I was longing for dialogue either. I think it was nice the way they ended it, where Peter does save his life and then kind of wraps him up and leaves that note. Found the Vulture guy, Spider-Man.
Did you stay for the end credit scenes?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So hold on. So we're talking about the end battle here real quick. So I don't want to gloss over that. I thought the ending of the movie itself with the scene with Aunt May real quick, the WTF scene, I thought that was hilarious.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
perfect.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect way to kind of leave you wanting more because like now you at least know, okay, now Aunt May knows. But it makes you so excited for the next movie because like what's the dynamic going to be now, right? Because they've established that this version of May is very direct and very hip.
And
very hot. She's young and hot.
I have dissonance about that. It's not the Aunt May I remember, but
same. But like there's the scene where Spider-Man loses the Stark internship. He loses the suit, and then he comes home all sad. And then May's just like, cut the bullshit. Like, I know you sneak out at night. I know you skip detention, etc. Like, she shoots from the hip. Right. So it'll be interesting to see like what happens in the sequels, when this is a world now where May knows that Peter is Spider-Man.
I want to talk about the next scene too after the initial final credits. Have you guys played Far Cry 3?
Yeah.
What's the name of that villain?
Not all the way through, but
in Far Cry 3? Voss, thank you. I couldn't remember. One of the best video game villains in a very long time. Did you guys catch that was the same actor there that talks to Michael Keaton in the prison?
Is that him?
That's Voss, dude, from Far Cry 3. I thought that was so cool.
That is pretty cool.
That's absolutely him. I'm glad to see him getting actual like real Hollywood work, man. That's really cool.
And you guys both know that's Scorpion, right? Like in the universe.
Wait, no, I had no idea. Scorpion is a Spider-Man enemy.
He's a Spider-Man villain, yeah.
He's a villain. Yeah. Okay, and that's Scorpion. That's him. So
yeah.
Nah, I don't even know who Scorpion is, dude. I thought I knew all the Spider-Man villains.
Gotcha. So he's supposed to be Scorpion. So it's interesting to see that they're already like introducing him and confirming that we're bringing more Spider-Man villains to the screen.
Seems to me that there's a lot of people/animals in the Spider-Man world.
Yeah, kind of.
Sort of. I mean, with some exceptions like Sandman, Green Goblin, but a lot of them are.
Well, yeah, there is they're Vulture,
exactly,
Rhino,
yeah,
Scorpion,
and there's more.
Yeah.
But yeah, just an observation I had. So yeah, I thought that was cool. It kind of definitely gets you hyped up for what potentially could happen in the sequel. I'm almost sure there's going to be a sequel to this.
Oh no, it's already confirmed.
Is it a direct Spider-Man sequel, or is it just part of the Infinity Wars?
So the plan is there's going to be the first like saga of the MCU is going to conclude, and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's supposed to conclude with Infinity War and whatever other like movies they release that's directly related to Infinity War. And then Spider-Man Homecoming 2 or Marvel Spider-Man 2, whatever the direct sequel to the Spider-Man film is, that's supposed to kick off the next like big story arc in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, from what I've read.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it opened this weekend with $117 million domestically, over $250 million worldwide. Like, it's definitely a hit. It's definitely the number one movie of that weekend, and you know, it also is going to give some, I think, through word of mouth and through people like me that didn't expect much and got, you know, way more than we expected in terms of quality with this film. I think it's definitely going to give one of my most anticipated films of the year, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, a run for its money. So I think Spider-Man definitely has a shot for sure at being number one again next weekend. We'll see what happens with Planet of the Apes. It'll be an interesting fight, but you know, I'm definitely looking forward to watching both movies. You know,
right?
We can all be winners in my book.
Yeah, I mean, the outlook for Spider-Man definitely looks good. I mean, the fact that we went to a 7:45 showing at one theater last night and it was
mine was sold out
on
too.
a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we ended up having to go to another theater and paying more, by the way, but seeing the movie in another theater nonetheless, because the first one was sold out like on a Tuesday night. That was nuts.
Yeah. Couple more things I wanted to hit on with this film, which is kind of cool. So, Childish Gambino, Mr. Glover,
yeah, he changed his name, right? He's not that name anymore. Honestly, right? He dropped that title.
Yeah.
Aside from Hannibal Buress, that was my favorite highlight because Donald Glover / Childish Gambino was my favorite.
I think he did a pretty good job for like his small role there, and if I remember right, in the Marvel universe, so he's the Prowler. Right, he's like a small-time criminal. You kind of see that when Karen, the suit lady, is like analyzing him and pulls up his profile of his, like, you know, his criminal record and stuff. They have like, you know, his name, aka the Prowler.
Interesting. Who
is the uncle of Miles Morales, who I don't know if you guys are familiar with that name, but he's like the Black Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2.
Miles Prowler?
Yeah. Nope. Miles Morales.
I'm joking.
Yeah, and
yeah, the Crimson Spider.
And you notice in the film, like the scene where Spider-Man interrogates Donald Glover, you know, with the interrogation protocol and whatever the fuck. Like, that was great.
Oh, that was really funny where his voice drops. You know what? I almost thought that was a dig at Batman.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Tell me where all the drugs
are. Like, yo, I know what a girl sounds like, and that's not a girl. The whole scene, like, that was great. But
man, what are you gonna undo my trunk for me, man? Sorry, man, you deserve that. Man, I got ice cream in here.
But what you'll notice,
that's the thing about this movie. Sorry, real quick. That's the thing about this movie is there's so many good humorous quotes that will stand the test of time, that will be quoted. This movie will be quoted, which is very surprising.
Yeah. But what you'll notice too in that scene is that when he finally gives the information up to Peter, he says like, I got a nephew around here, you know, and like, which kind of confirms that Miles Morales exists in the MCU.
Yeah, so he's talking about, so there might be a different Spider-Man down the road. Is that the kind of the door they're leaving open?
Possibly, but
dude, if we got the Crimson Spider, I'd be
because what's interesting though is like Peter's still in high school at this point. You know, he's still a young Spider-Man. He's a budding Spider-Man right now. So it'd be interesting to see if they're really going to throw two young Spider-Men like out and about at the same time. But we'll wait and see, I guess.
I mean, and then you also have that Venom movie, right? That has been already cast, right? With Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, right? That's the thing.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that's coming out too.
Is that in the Marvel CU?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, because I always thought it was like a separate project.
Okay. Well, so is Spider-Man not supposed to be in that one with Venom? That sounds like a weird movie.
Don't know.
Right. Worth investigating.
Yeah, I think though another great thing from the movie, the very, very final post-credit scene.
Oh yeah.
You guys stick around for that?
Captain America, yeah, that was those were really funny parts too. Anytime Captain America was like talking on a TV this whole film, it was definitely hilarious. He's like, yeah, and I want you to listen to your physical education teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and take it from someone who's been frozen for 60 years. When you want to be cool, follow the rules.
So lame.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And
So you're in.
if anyone knows about body changing, it's me.
So you're in detention.
Yeah, so you're in detention. Yeah. Corny. He's just like the most lame old grandpa character ever. It's perfect.
Right. And then the fucking gym teacher. I'm sure this guy's a war criminal by now, but like that was.
Yeah, he's like, I'm pretty sure this guy's a war criminal, but I gotta play this for you anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like those little things sprinkled throughout the movie made that final post-credit scene so perfect. Like, I honestly, like, I haven't seen many Marvel films recently, but I haven't loved a post-credit scenes like that since the Avengers one, where they're just sitting around in that, like, they're just drinking coffee, just chilling.
Interesting. Yeah.
Wait, did you guys, Robert, was it you that told me about the Hannibal Buress thing at the premiere? So, you guys didn't hear about that. So, when Spider-Man Homecoming premiered in Hollywood, before the premiere, Hannibal Buress tweeted out, it's like, hey, I desperately need someone that looks just like me, and if you know anybody that looks like me, just email me.
What?
So what happened was he got in contact with this dude, and basically he had a doppelganger show up in his place to the Spider-Man Homecoming premiere, so he wouldn't have to show up.
Why would he not want to come to that?
Just to fuck with people, and this dude showed up and did interviews with like
Shut up, like those
everything.
are like online to watch.
Dude, you could go fucking watch the video right now. It's so good. It says Hannibal Buress across the screen.
You
and
can tell
everything.
it's not him.
You could clearly tell it's not him.
Hollywood people, then,
dude, it was so good.
Wow.
And he was like, so what was it like to play a phys ed teacher in a Spider-Man movie and blah blah blah. He's like, well, when I was in high school, I had a bunch of I had this coach or whatever, so and so that I really looked up to, and just got to give 110%.
So,
like, dude, fucking played it off perfectly.
Let me ask you guys. I mean, we're singing this movie's praises for sure, but is there anything about the movie that you didn't like or would like to have seen maybe handled a little bit better?
Well, the revelatory speech at the end of the movie for sure, but otherwise nothing really, like, I don't know. I was kind of disappointed they didn't take the badass suit from Tony Stark.
That thing looks sweet.
I know he's like, I don't want to be part of the Avengers, but I would be like, yeah, but I'll take the suit.
That was yet again another funny part where he's like, I passed the test, didn't I? And then it wasn't a test at all. And Tony's like, when he's explaining it to Pepper, he's like, he just made a decision and we have no idea what to do now. We weren't expecting it. So
yeah, he's like, he was so mature, but like, we have no idea what to do now.
Yeah. No, I think that scene was really good, but I'm also kind of glad he didn't pick up the armored spider suit, I think, just because I want to see more development with Karen, like the suit lady. I feel like this film could have seen a lot more of that. So it'd be cool to see more, I think, in the next Spider-Man, where he like really gets in tune with his suit and he's like fully optimal and actually doesn't have the training wheels anymore, that whole thing.
I really hope, and don't spoil me if you know the answer, but I really hope that they don't pull a Vision on Karen and like have her like manifest into a corporeal being and like be in a romance with the Vision who used to be Jarvis, like the AI. Like, I hope nothing like that happens. That'd be so corny and predictable. I hope she just stays in the suit. Lady, stay in the suit. You're awesome in the suit.
Suit lady.
Yeah, please do that.
In terms of other criticisms I have, cinematography, especially during some of the action scenes, kind of feel a little bit jarring, I think. Like it's following minute action, but there's a lot of macro action happening in those scenes. So I feel like there's a lot that's missed and it's kind of hard to follow sometimes. I also think the film was almost too funny, and I thought I'd never have to say that about a Spider-Man film, but I felt like the humor almost became a crutch rather than letting it stand on its own.
Yeah, I could see that as an argument for sure. Like, I mean, it was very funny, and I very much enjoyed it throughout.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Collin. Good. It's absolutely one of the funniest Marvel movies I can think of. Period.
Oh, for sure. I'd also say it's probably one of the few Marvel films that has an actually good villain.
Yeah, I felt for that guy. I mean, you could tell his motivation, much kind of like Dracula in Castlevania.
Yeah,
they definitely.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. Like, it seemed like they were like nipping the whole underdeveloped villain thing like right off the bat. Like they were just biting it in the ass right off the bat and just making sure like you set up the villain really well at the beginning and you already care about him before the movie even or before you're even introduced to Peter Parker in the movie. So that was cool.
Yeah, what I like with how they did Toombs' character in this film is that it kind of makes you think, if I were in his shoes, would I start doing the same thing? Like, would I be strong enough to know, like, sure, I need to feed my family, but this isn't the right way to do it? Or do I take that ticket out and be able to keep my family afloat and, put food on the table for them? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It kind of creates this moral quandary when you look at, like, I mean, what he's doing is wrong, right? But is it necessarily bad, or is it for the greater good in his eyes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I have a couple problems with the film. They're nothing major, but the scene, I mean, I already went into this film knowing it was going to be an homage to John Hughes films, which I'm very familiar with, pretty much his whole catalog. But so I already went in thinking this is going to be the feel good, high school style Spider-Man movie and Underoos, and that's what I got. And I just feel like there was a little bit less respect for the audience in some of the decisions that were made. And what I'm talking about specifically is when he's running across the backyards. Okay. And you're like, oh, like, at least me, I was like, this reminds me of Ferris Bueller. And then they just outright show it to you on a TV. Like, who's watching a flat screen TV outside while they're barbecuing? That was a little strange, just automatically on his face. But then it's just like, it was just way too on the nose for him. Like, it would have been so much better if you had a little bit of respect for the audience to put two and two together and realize that's an homage to that scene, because that's a very famous scene, right, in Ferris Bueller. And so I was just a little bit like, man, they really think we're dumb and would never think of that until you have to show it to us to know what you're doing. And I mean, there are YouTube channels that are dedicated to finding that kind of stuff in films and dissecting it. You kind of cut those content creators off at the knees when you do something like that, and just like, look, audience, this is what I mean. Boom, right there. And then also, like, okay, the Ferris Bueller kind of homage has kind of been played out already. It already happened in Deadpool. Like, you got beat way to the punch on that. Like, it's kind of like a rehash. You're bringing up Ferris Bueller again for the second Marvel movie. So to me, that was just like a little like, oh, so that was the only thing. I thought they could have had. I thought they could have handled that a little bit better and had a little bit more respect for the audience. That's really the only part of the film that bugged me. Also, well, that's not true. Also, like the big reveal, like obviously for obvious reasons, I felt a little manipulated into that shocker because, let's be honest, right? If that character was a Caucasian, it wouldn't have been as shocking.
Yeah, that's very true.
They used race. They used race as a form of shocking people, and that's the part that kind of just rubs me a little bit against the grain.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of shocking, they kind of did like a throwaway character for Shocker, who is a decent what a great name villain.
Too, by the way.
A wrestling name.
People snickered when they said you're the Shocker now. Like, people were in my theater were like,
yeah.
Definitely laughing at that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And like, yeah, obviously they're talking about like the bigger supervillain in the Spider-Man universe called the Shocker, but like they even kind of slightly reference it because you see like the sleeves on his jacket and stuff like look like the costume that Shocker wears in the comics for Spider-Man. But yeah, like it was kind of weird to me that they kind of made him just kind of like a throwaway villain, and he was just kind of gone or done by the end of it. Because he is like a larger scale villain in Spider-Man. I don't know if they ended up. I mean, obviously they didn't really have any big plans for him, but I don't know. That was kind of cool that they threw that in there, though.
Yeah, I'm glad that they actually made the Vulture such an interesting villain, though, for sure.
Yeah,
like I see where you're coming from with like them kind of demoting Shocker a bit, but I'm more than willing to pay that price for actually having a very good, not just Spider-Man villain, but just a good Marvel villain.
Also, the title Shocker, they've already established, is very interchangeable. Anyone can be the Shocker.
Yeah.
It's
like Doomfist. Whoever's got that gauntlet is Shocker. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that still stands to reason that maybe they could bring that back in a more, in a more meaningful way in the future. Who knows? I wonder how many Spider-Man movies they're going to make now. But do you guys want to kind of circle into our final thoughts here on the film?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. So I think it's a really great film. I definitely recommend it. Like, even if you haven't been following the Marvel universe at all, this is just a great Yeah, it's
like
just a great superhero film. I think it's kind of one I think that'll stand the test of time as like a good superhero film, one that really isn't easily forgettable, and one that kind of epitomizes, you know, your good superhero tropes. You know, the idea of like they get their powers and then at some point their powers are taken away and it helps them become stronger, or, you know, somehow they're like limited, so they find a different way to get around it and they make themselves more powerful, and through that, you know, stronger character, all that kind of stuff. It kind of hits all the nails on the head when it comes to a superhero film, but it hits them so very well. And on top of that, it's pretty funny to boot. So overall, I'd give this film a really great, you know, like recommendation.
I couldn't recommend it more, and I think a lot of it though just comes from me having a very low expectation for it. And who the heck is this director still? Like, I don't know. He totally came out left field with this. I think he did a great job overall. Obviously, you know, I've aired my grievances with the film I have already, but those by no means are any reason to not see the film. I think it's great fun. I think that Tom Holland was in danger though of having like almost every scene stolen by the guy who played Ned, his friend. And I'd love to see. I mean, he's kind of the standout breakout. What's that?
I think I forget his first name, but I think his last name's Battalo.
Yeah, I think he stole like almost every scene he had with Peter, and I love the scene where he's spinning in the chair. He's like, "I'm the chair guy." Like, I love that part, and I hope that he gets more work. I hope that he breaks out, because I don't know what other things he's been in or whatever, but he has a great comedic presence, and I could see him, you know, extending into other films. I almost want to see him in a movie with Will Ferrell, like, or something like that, right? Like, that would be hilarious. Yeah. So, you know, I thought he did a great job. I'd love to see him break out. We'll see where Tom Holland's career goes from here. I mean, what's he headed? He's Nathan Drake now, right? Like, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I thought overall it was a fantastic movie. I didn't like, you know, I was really, really hoping that we're finally going to get a fucking decent Spider-Man movie, you know, if anything, because we haven't. I don't know, like, I really liked the Amazing Spider-Man, like the first one. I really liked it because I thought they just did the origin story of Spider-Man like a lot more justice, I felt like, in that movie than they did in the Sam Raimi films. But otherwise, like, I think this is like the Spider-Man movie that we've needed. Definitely since, like, you know, that, you know, Spider-Man's actually part of the MCU now. So I don't know. It was a very like it was a very awesome movie. It was a very important movie for Spider-Man, especially. And I'm excited to see where they take it.
The hero we need, not the one we deserve.
Okay, Batman.
Right. They say that a hero can save us.
That's all it was missing. Nickelback,
not
you know.
Take you.
Nickelback would have just pushed it over that.
It was actually no. That was Chad Kroeger featuring the dude from Saliva, and then I think
you know way too much about that to claim you're a cool guy.
Same.
I have the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man soundtrack.
I can't even judge. The first CD I ever bought, like when compact discs were still like crazy new, was the Jurassic Park soundtrack on CD. So fun little fact.
Ooh, yeah, not a bad choice.
I know it's definitely stood the test of time, right? That soundtrack has stood the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's enough for me. Sure. We've been podcasting almost 3 hours. So
I don't think we can stand the test of time anymore. We've been recording for a while. So I hope you enjoyed our first spoiler cast. Let us know if you want to do more of this kind of stuff, because I mean, I think it was kind of fun, you know, being able to talk so freely about such a new project.
Yeah, and there are no shortage of big movies and things coming out as well too. Maybe we can do spoiler cast on games too. Who knows? Yeah. So, let us know your feedback, what you think, and how we can change it up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we've already signed off on the normal things, so we'll hit you next week. Probably, we'll see if there's another spoiler cast there. So tune in next Thursday for another episode. See ya.